Chapter 885. After absorbing most of Wang Lin's life force, the death aura around him slowly loosened and flew toward Li Muan. It hovered in front of Li Muan and used a special method to absorb the life force from Wang Lin's body into Li Muan's nascent soul. The Xiang clan ancestor slowly said, "The so-called Qixi technique requires one to endure for 7 days. If this nascent soul can endure for 7 days, it will naturally be able to awaken." Wang Lin remained silent as he stared at Li Muan's nascent soul. He had no regrets in his heart. Li Muan seemed to be able to sense all of this, and her body trembled slightly. However, the body of a nascent soul had no tears, but it could turn into a silent sadness. The death aura around Li Muan's nascent soul continued to absorb life force into Li Muan's body. Gradually, Li Muan's nascent soul began to solidify. Time slowly passed. The first day, the second day. However, on the third day, Li Muan's nascent soul stopped. This was because Wang Lin's life force had completely disappeared. Unfortunately, the Qixi technique is the #1 technique in the ancient times that defied the heavens and changed fate. This technique is so powerful that even a dead person can be completely resurrected. However, the prerequisite is that there is enough life force. The amount of life force transferred by the Qixi technique is not equal, but completely unequal. The Qixi technique represents 7 days, and with each additional day, the amount of life force required is 100 times greater than the previous day. As a result, on the most critical 7th day, the amount of life force required is unimaginably large. Your life force can only last for 2 days. Even if the old man didn't take half of your life force as a condition, you wouldn't be able to last for 3 days. Sumu, do you have anything else that can increase your life force? The Xiang clan ancestor slowly asked. Without any more life force, Li Muan's nascent soul began to dissipate again. This time, the speed at which it dissipated was faster and more intense than before, as if it could completely disappear at any moment. Continue to absorb my life force. Wang Lin looked at Li Muan with a gentle expression. This woman had waited for him for hundreds of years, all because of a promise. After 1,000 years of cultivation, only one woman had walked into his heart. However, after she left, in that endless loneliness, in those bits of memories, he slowly realized that he had always cared about her. He looked at Li Muan, at the sadness of life and death, of homelessness. There was a distance between the two of them, not far like the two sides of a river. On one side was him, and on the other side was her. Between them was the pain and pain of 1,000 years, turning into a river that flowed into the distance. However, no matter how turbulent the river of pain was, no matter how much it flowed, it could not wash away the determination in her eyes. Once again, the sound of the zither filled with sorrow echoed in his ears. The sun rose and the moon sank. It was as if the zither music had built a bridge between Wang Lin and Li Muan. It was as if the two of them could truly feel each other's existence. The aura of death swirled around Li Muan as it separated from Li Muan's body. One side circled around Li Muan, and the other side circled around Wang Lin. Life force flowed out of Wang Lin's body along with the aura of death, fusing into Li Muan's nascent soul. Even if he had to use 100, 1,000 times more life force to exchange for Li Muan's life force, Wang Lin would have no regrets. He looked calmly at Li Muan, and a gentle smile could be seen on his face. His features once again aged, and wrinkles spread out across his face. Vast amounts of life force flowed away from him, making it seem as if he had lived 1,000 years. There wasn't much life force left in Wang Lin's body. The speed at which it was being absorbed caused Wang Lin to feel even more clearly the call of the heavenly Tao. He took a deep breath, and an even stronger life force exploded out from his body. This explosion seemed to turn into a storm of life that swept out in all directions. The countless heads in the area suddenly began to shine with a mysterious light. Inside the coffin, The Xiong clan ancestor stared in shock. At this moment, the lid of the coffin tilted to the side, revealing an emaciated body that looked like a corpse. A cold and emotionless gaze filled with death aura shot out from the corpse's eyes and landed on Wang Lin's body. On a cultivation planet in the Alliance star system, Wang Lin's original body was hiding in a cultivation sect, acting as a low-level disciple. At this moment, he was cultivating, and a large amount of life force was rapidly dissipating from his body. However, his original body didn't do anything to stop this dissipation. He calmly looked at the sky and silently pondered. His cold gaze, which had always been cold, revealed a hint of gentleness at this moment, just like his avatar. The life force that entered his avatar's body through a special method was being consumed in a large amount, and it continued to enter Li Muan's nascent soul. Li Muan's nascent soul gradually became corporeal once more. Time slowly passed. The third day, the fourth day. On the fifth day, Wang Lin's original body was dim and his red hair was dark. A large amount of life force had been consumed. Even though his original body had the body of an ancient god, it couldn't withstand it. After the fourth day of the Qi Shi art, Li Muan's nascent soul completely condensed. There was a trace of life force inside her nascent soul, and the death aura had been completely expelled. However, without Wang Lin's life force, this sliver of life force couldn't be stabilized and couldn't awaken. 4 days was the limit. On the 5th day, Wang Lin couldn't pass it. The old man can only do this much. Your life force isn't enough, so you naturally can't resurrect this nascent soul. The Xiong clan ancestor calmly looked at Wang Lin, then lay back down in the coffin. A death aura whirlwind swept up Li Muan and Wang Lin, sending them out of the tunnel and into the crack. During this process, Wang Lin immediately formed a seal with both hands. Numerous restrictions surrounded Li Muan's nascent soul, slowing down the dissipation of the trace of life force. The moment they rushed out of the crack, 2 gazes immediately landed on Wang Lin's body. When Shimizu saw Wang Lin, he was stunned and didn't say anything. As for Xiang Yundong, he seemed to have known this would happen. He glanced at Wang Lin and then withdrew his gaze. Wang Lin carefully placed Li Muan's nascent soul into his bag of holding. He looked at Shimizu and calmly said, "Senior brother, let's go." Shimizu let out a sigh. He waved his sleeves and took Wang Lin with him. They broke through the sky and left. Xiang Yundong looked in the direction Wang Lin disappeared in. A smile appeared on his face as he muttered to himself, "Su Mu, although the old man schemed against you, he didn't hide anything. With your intelligence, you must have known that the price of helping you restore your nascent soul was a large amount of life force. Since that's the case, we don't owe each other anything." Shimizu and Wang Lin turned into 2 meteors that flashed across the sky. "Senior brother, do you know what this is?" As they flew, Wang Lin had been silent the entire time. He slapped his bag of holding and the heaven-avoiding coffin flew out and landed before him. Qing Shui's figure paused as he looked at the heaven-avoiding coffin. There was a flash of red light in his right eye. After a long time, he said, "I haven't seen this before, but there is dense celestial spiritual energy inside. It is clearly something from the celestial realm. In addition, there is a very special power inside, like some kind of law. This item should be used for healing, right?" Hearing that even Shimizu didn't know what this item was, Wang Lin let out a sigh. He put away the heaven-avoiding coffin and softly said, "It should be used to heal injuries, but I don't know the method." Shimizu didn't continue to ask. He looked into the distance and pondered a bit before suddenly saying, "Su Mu, although you didn't enter the celestial pool, you still passed the test. My trip to the Alliance star system will be very dangerous, so I'm afraid I won't be able to let you accompany me. As a result, you will have to rely on yourself in the Alliance star system." Wang Lin nodded, but his heart felt bitter. He could feel the call of the heavens getting closer and closer. Call the wind, summon the rain, and magic arsenal. You already know Call the wind. As for the other two, I'll teach them to you now. As Shimizu spoke, his two fingers formed a sword and he pointed it between Wang Lin's eyebrows. A powerful celestial origin energy entered Wang Lin's body. At the same time, all the information about Summon the Rain and Magic Arsenal appeared in Wang Lin's mind. Shimizu's actions could be considered an inheritance. Inheritance and imparting were two completely different things. Only direct descendants of master and disciple would be imparted. In this way, it could guarantee that the imparted skill would not be lost in the slightest. In fact, it could even reduce unnecessary detours and directly allow the inheritor to comprehend the skill the most. Shimizu looked at Wang Lin and let out a sigh. At the beginning, he only wanted to repay his teacher for Wang Lin. Although his teacher was joking, it was the only thing he could repay after awakening. He didn't care too much about Wang Lin. Even if he saved him, it was for his teacher. Shimizu was very disappointed that Wang Lin didn't enter the Celestial Ascension pool. He had already decided that Wang Lin's fate with his teacher would be severed. From now on, they would no longer be related. He would focus on finding the reason why the celestial realm collapsed, and the reason why he went crazy. However, after witnessing how Wang Lin was willing to come this far and give up almost all of his life for a woman, Shimizu began to reminisce. Looking at Wang Lin, Shimizu felt like he was looking at himself in the past. His heart was filled with heart-wrenching pain. He would never forget when he woke up and saw the ground covered in blood, his lover's closed eyes, and the beautiful face. At that moment, his heart had collapsed. Filled with melancholy, Shimizu looked at Wang Lin. He no longer treated him as a way to repay his teacher. Instead, there was a hint of gentleness in his eyes. You didn't enter the Celestial Ascension pool, so you can't use this celestial spell to its fullest. I don't have anything to give you, but I'll give you a strand of celestial origin energy to help you use the celestial spell. The celestial origin energy that entered Wang Lin's body wasn't taken away by Shimizu. Instead, as Wang Lin's body circulated, it turned into a golden bean surrounded by celestial origin energy and landed in Wang Lin's origin soul. Chapter 886. This celestial origin energy is limited. Consider it my gift to you for self-defense. There is also the Summon the Rain crystal. With these two combined, as long as you don't fall into a battle between powerful cultivators in the Alliance star system, you should be able to protect yourself. At this moment, Wang Lin's mind was still filled with the Summon the Rain and Magic Arsenal spells. He was immersed in them as he continued to digest and comprehend them. Shimizu silently pondered. After a long time, he looked at Wang Lin with a hint of farewell in his eyes and slowly said, "You have lost too much of your vitality. Senior brother can't help you with this. All the spells I cultivate are battle spells and have not been nurtured. The only thing I have is the Devour spell that teacher taught me. You personally saw it in the Thunder Celestial Realm, so now I'll teach it to you." As Shimizu spoke, his right hand landed between Wang Lin's eyebrows once more. The Devour spell entered Wang Lin's mind like crazy. The drawback of this spell is very big. When teacher taught it to me, he was also very hesitant. Now that you have learned it, you must not use it unless it is a last resort. Shimizu let out a sigh as he looked at Wang Lin's old face. He withdrew his right hand and bit his finger to draw a very strange rune. This rune was filled with the aura of blood, and the moment it appeared, it caused space itself to change. It was as if all the dust in the area had retreated. The loss of your vitality is too serious. This rune can protect you a bit. Shimizu waved his right hand and the blood-colored rune landed on Wang Lin's chest. In a flash it disappeared. Wang Lin's body trembled violently and his face quickly recovered from its old appearance. A moment later, aside from his white hair, his appearance returned to normal. There were no longer any signs of vitality damage on his body, it was completely hidden and protected. This rune can't have a recovery effect and can't be used on a nascent soul. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do this. Shimizu turned around and walked into the starry sky, his figure gradually disappearing. Junior brother, from now on, take care. The method to recover the G realm is related to divine retribution. However, if you haven't reached the Nirvana Shatterer stage, don't try to reach the G realm. Shimizu left. Wang Lin's body trembled as he regained his senses. Everything that had just occurred echoed in his ears. He looked off in the direction that Shimizu had left, and was silent for a very, very long time. "Thank you," said Wang Lin softly. There was an indescribable feeling in his heart as he turned and left. He didn't go to the Thunder Celestial Temple to enter the Alliance star system. Instead, he merged with the world and found the closest abandoned cultivation planet. After making sure everything was safe, he sat down in the lotus position inside the cave he had opened up. Spreading out his divine sense, Ta Shan stepped out from behind him and sat cross-legged at the cave entrance to guard it. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and the restriction ball sealing Li Muan flew out and landed in his palm. Looking at the restriction ball, Wang Lin's eyes were filled with sadness. His left hand gently rubbed the restriction ball and layer by layer opened, revealing Li Muan's nascent soul with a trace of vitality. "Wan Air, even if I have to consume almost all of my vitality, I'm willing to exchange it for this sliver of hope for you." Wang Lin's voice was calm, but it contained a bitter pain. Li Muan's nascent soul trembled. She didn't have the strength to awaken, but at this moment, 2 lines of tears flowed down from her nascent soul. Nascent souls didn't have tears, so the moment the tears appeared, they immediately dissipated. Not a single drop fell, but they turned into a powerful pain that filled the surroundings. Wang Lin stared at Li Muan. There was a flash of light between his eyebrows and the heaven-defying bead slowly condensed. He placed Li Muan's nascent soul inside the heaven-defying bead. However, Wang Lin's body trembled as he found that Li Muan's nascent soul, which contained a trace of vitality, was still dissipating inside the heaven-defying bead. Although this dissipation was slow, it didn't stop. A bitter expression appeared on Wang Lin's face. After a moment of silence, a look of determination appeared on his face. He slapped his bag of holding and the heaven-avoiding coffin appeared in front of him. The coffin seemed to be made of crystal, and it emitted a bright, crystalline light. It looked extremely beautiful. Wang Lin's hand trembled as he took Li Muan's nascent soul out of the heaven-defying bead. He had already made his decision, but now he was silent again. To release or not to release? As he watched Li Muan's nascent soul rapidly dissipate, Wang Lin took the hand of Li Muan's nascent soul and placed it inside the heaven-avoiding coffin. The moment Li Muan's nascent soul entered the coffin, her nascent soul stopped sitting cross-legged and slowly lay down. Wang Lin stared unblinkingly, forgetting everything around him. There was only Li Muan in front of him. The moment Li Muan lay down, a strange power appeared inside the heaven-avoiding coffin. This power covered the entire coffin, and as it spread out, Li Muan's nascent soul trembled and showed signs of collapsing. However, at this moment, the trace of life within Li Muan's body began to swim around her nascent soul. The collapse of her nascent soul slowly dissipated. In the end, a 5-colored light appeared within the coffin. Wang Lin's heart experienced a drastic change at this moment. He took a deep breath. Given his intelligence, he immediately understood that if Li Muan's body didn't contain that trace of life force, then she would definitely collapse inside the heaven-avoiding coffin. It looks like this coffin only has an effect on people with life force, even if it is only a trace. Under Wang Lin's gaze, the 5-colored light flashed inside the coffin. Shortly after, red threads appeared around Li Muan's nascent soul. As they moved, they formed an outline around Li Muan's body. Then countless specks of light condensed and followed the red outline to form the skeleton of a woman. Li Muan's body was formed in a few short breaths of time. She was quietly lying inside the coffin, as if she was asleep. Even her breathing was present. When Wang Lin saw this, tears flowed down from his eyes. For this one glance, Wang Lin felt everything was worth it. 3 days later, Wang Lin left the abandoned cultivation planet with Li Muan and headed straight for the Thunder Celestial Temple. Let's go home. Wang Lin's voice filled with sadness came from the stars. It was so strong that it wouldn't dissipate in the slightest. In this short half a month, a bloody storm was set off in the Alliance star system. Starting from the western part of the Alliance star system, the Luo Tian army charged in. Under the charge of the Luo Tian army, cultivation planets were occupied one by one and the cultivators were evacuated. It was as if everything had reached the end of the world. What was strange was that the Alliance didn't do anything or show any anxiety. It was as if they were just watching. The All-Heaven cultivators were also uncertain about this matter. They couldn't determine the Alliance star system's attitude. Even Master Flamespark and company were filled with doubt. If the same thing had happened in the Luo Tian star system, the Thunder Celestial Temple would have immediately organized a counterattack. They wouldn't have given the enemy a chance to kill their way deep into the Alliance star system and occupy their foundation. Not only was the Alliance silent, not even a single rank 7 or above cultivation planet came out. In the Alliance star system, the Luo Tian cultivators occupied all rank 6 planet. Half of the rank 7 planets seemed to have disappeared, and they couldn't find them. This strange scene made the Luo Tian cultivators even more confused. Although the Luo Tian star system looked glorious on the surface, this kind of war where they couldn't predict the enemy's actions made many old monsters among the Luo Tian cultivators feel a trace of uneasiness in their hearts. This wasn't the main point. The main point was that during this half a month of war, the battle power of the rank 6 cultivation countries in the Alliance star system shocked a large portion of the Luo Tian cultivators. That bloodthirsty gaze, cunning style, and troublesome treasures all caused the Luo Tian cultivators to suffer a lot. This also made them realize that if two sides with the same cultivation level were to fight, the Luo Tian side would definitely lose. What shocked a portion of the Luo Tian cultivators was that the Alliance cultivators were all decisive and had rich battle experience. This made the Luo Tian cultivators feel like every cultivator in the Alliance star system was from planet Dong Lin. At this moment, on a wild planet in the western part of the Alliance star system, a monstrous aura suddenly erupted. Shortly after, a thunderous rumble came from the planet and spread like crazy. Fortunately, there was no one living on this planet, or else they wouldn't have survived this violent rumble. The earth trembled and the seas were pushed back. The entire planet seemed to be on the verge of death. A long laugh filled with excitement came from the planet. Then, an even more intense bang came from the planet. This old man has come out of closed-door cultivation. Damn it, little girls of planet Fengluan, just you wait. This time, you forced me to go into seclusion for such a long time, forced me to go into hiding in this godforsaken place. We're not finished. The extremely arrogant voice turned into a roar that filled the world. At the same time, a figure suddenly charged out from inside the planet. This person's clothes were tattered and his skin was dark. He was covered in dirt and looked extremely sloppy, but his eyes were as bright as a rainbow, and gave off a strange light that could shock one's soul. As this person charged out, he created sonic booms. The planet began to collapse on a large scale under this powerful force, as if it couldn't withstand it. I'm going to suffocate to death. I don't even remember how long I've been in closed-door cultivation. My poor concubines must have died long ago. Planet Fengluan, I'm really angry this time. I've reached the early stage of Nirvana Cleanser in one go. I'm going to go be a king on your planet. The figure cursed as if he wanted to vent all the anger he had accumulated over the years. Fourth night, 12,000. He had started writing at 8 a.m. and was now exhausted. He was begging for a monthly pass to encourage him. Chapter 887. In the Alliance star system, Wang Lin had a head of white hair as he coldly looked ahead. He slowly walked forward step by step. His pace wasn't fast, but every step he took caused ripples to echo as he crossed countless distances. Looking at the unfamiliar yet familiar space around him, Wang Lin's expression was calm. He had already left this place for a very long time. When he left, he had just reached the ascendant stage, but when he returned, he was already at the Nirvana Scryer stage. Tian Yunzi Ling Tianho. I Wang Lin have returned. Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly. Inside his bag of holding was the key to the cave in the demon spirit land. He had kept it safe this entire time. Back then, Wang Lin's cultivation level wasn't high in the Alliance star system. The highest level he had come into contact with was a rank 7 cultivation country. However, now that he was a Nirvana Scryer cultivator, even back in the Luo Tian star system, he was valued by those old monsters. Now that he had returned to the Alliance star system, if he wanted to, he could immediately set off a storm. However, Wang Lin knew that the Alliance star system couldn't compare to the Luo Tian star system. The Alliance star system's waters were too deep. I must be cautious in the battle between the Luo Tian star system and the Alliance star system. I can't carelessly get involved. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he decided to wait and see. After returning to the Alliance star system, Wang Lin's caution from back then increased several-fold. He knew that the cultivators of the Alliance star system, especially those at the ascendant stage and above, were all extremely cunning. There was no need to even mention those at the same cultivation level as him. If he wasn't careful, he would be eaten alive without even knowing it. This wasn't the cultivation method of the Luo Tian star system, but the cruel cultivation method of the strong preying on the weak. However, with my current cultivation level, I don't need to be afraid of anything in the Alliance star system after I fuse with my original body. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. After returning to the Alliance star system, he immediately contacted his original body to determine each other's exact location. As he stepped forward, Wang Lin's divine sense spread out in all directions. Before long, his expression flickered. He had been searching for an uninhabited, desolate planet this entire time, and now he had found it. Ripples spread out under his feet. Wang Lin's body merged with heaven and earth, disappearing from sight. When he reappeared, he was on an uninhabited, desolate star. There wasn't much spiritual energy here, but the ground was full of life, and there were plants everywhere. As far as the eye could see, the desolate star was completely covered in dense forests. Previously, when he knew that he needed to use his life force to save Limuan, he didn't hesitate and chose to use his life force to exchange for the Qixi art. After all, he had waited for hundreds of years, and this might be his only chance. He couldn't give it up. This art could be a success, but it could also be a failure. The success was that although Limuan hadn't been resurrected, she now had a body and hope. Although Wang Lin had used up a majority of his life force, he had other plans for it. Even Shimizu didn't expect Wang Lin to send out a rune that could hide his life force. Although the current Wang Lin didn't look old aside from his white hair, if he were to break this tattoo, he would look like a 1,000-year-old old man. The feeling of being summoned by the heavenly reincarnation Tao became even stronger. However, Wang Lin's expression didn't change at all. His body flickered and he landed on this land filled with life force. The moment his feet landed, Wang Lin took a deep breath and sat down. Behind him, Ta Shan walked out and sat down a few dozen feet away. His eyes were cold as he looked around. If anything happened that would harm Wang Lin, he would immediately act. After taking a deep breath, Wang Lin raised his right hand and formed a seal. Immediately, a black light gathered on his index finger. At first, the black light wasn't very dense, but after a moment, it had a soul-stirring power. Finger of Death. Wang Lin looked at the black light on his right hand. After he saw the third step, he analyzed the finger of death. If he used it for a long time, it wouldn't be beneficial for him to return to his origin, so he gave up on it. However, when he heard Xiang Yundong say that saving Li Muwen would consume a large amount of his life force, the finger of death immediately appeared in Wang Lin's mind. This spell used an extremely domineering method to devour the life force of everything for one's own use. After fusing it into one's body, it would turn into a powerful attack. When the finger landed, all life force would collapse. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his right hand slowly pointed down. Suddenly, his hand pressed down on the ground in front of him. At this moment, the black light formed a ring with Wang Lin as the center and instantly spread out. The black light spread out, and in almost an instant, it covered the land within a 500-kilometer radius. The towering trees within the 500-kilometer radius gradually withered. Their leaves withered, and after a few breaths of time, they all cracked. Finally, with a bang, they turned into dust and disappeared. Even the falling leaves dissipated as they fell. Only a large amount of white gas floated out from the collapsing trees and immediately gathered toward Wang Lin. It wasn't just the trees. All the plants and vegetation on the ground began to wither as the black light spread out. All of their life force was sucked out and turned into white gas that gathered toward Wang Lin. In almost an instant, all life within 500 kilometers was exterminated, and all of their life force was sucked out. If one looked down from high up in the sky, they would see a strange scene. Everything within 500 kilometers was withered, and the white gas seemed to have a mind of its own as it flew toward Wang Lin and circled around him. Wang Lin's body was surrounded by the white gas, and it was impossible to see him clearly. The white gas was filled with life force, and as it circled around Wang Lin, lightning flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He took a deep breath. As he inhaled, the white gas that surrounded him seemed to have found an outlet. It transformed into a giant vortex, and at the end of the vortex was Wang Lin's eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. Endless white gas poured into Wang Lin's body, turning into life force that nourished his body and also rapidly replenished the life force that Wang Lin had used up. As the life force was absorbed, the blood-colored magical symbol on Wang Lin's chest began to flicker. Finally, it emerged 3 inches from his chest. However, there were still strands of flowing light that covered Wang Lin's body, protecting and concealing him. An hour later, the last strand of white gas surrounding Wang Lin was sucked into Wang Lin's mouth, and then completely disappeared. Within 500 kilometers, the land was a withered yellow. Even the ground was cracked and all life force was gone. Strangely, outside of the 500 kilometers, everything was normal. This created a stark contrast. It was as if the 500 kilometers were 2 different worlds. The divine ability cultivated by the Xiang clan ancestor must be similar to the finger of extermination. They both absorb life force into themselves. That person was too arrogant. He probably didn't expect me to see through it. A cold smile appeared on Wang Lin's face. How could half of my, Wang Lin's, life force be so easily swallowed? One day I'll take it all back with interest. Devouring life force, I can do it too. A cold light flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He closed them and the black glow that covered 500 kilometers once again began to expand like crazy. 2,000 kilometers, 1,500 kilometers. In an instant, it covered the 2,500-kilometer area. Plants withered and giant trees collapsed. Within the 2,500-kilometer area, even some demonic beasts couldn't escape this calamity. A giant python that was more than 30 meters long was immediately hit by the black glow. Its body trembled, and after the black glow passed, its body collapsed. Its life force turned into a large amount of white gas that floated toward Wang Lin. The expansion of the black glow didn't stop. It continued. 6,000 kilometers, 8,000 kilometers, 5,000 kilometers. Within 5,000 kilometers, all living things collapsed. The boundless life force turned into a windstorm, and at the center of the windstorm was Wang Lin. Large amounts of white life force entered Wang Lin's body through his orifices. Gradually, the red symbol on his chest rose higher and higher until it was 10 inches above his chest. Wang Lin's eyes snapped open, and his left hand grabbed the symbol on his chest and pulled it out. He immediately pulled the symbol out of his chest. The moment the symbol was removed, Wang Lin's body began to shine brightly. In the blink of an eye, he turned into an ancient old man surrounded by a thick death aura. However, all of this was reversed in an instant. The surrounding vitality was absorbed by Wang Lin's orifices. Wang Lin's withered body began to shine and rapidly change. At this moment, in the western part of the Alliance star system, there was a cultivation planet countless kilometers away from the abandoned planet Wang Lin was on. This planet was deep in the western part of the Alliance and was close to the southern border. From a distance, this looked like a half-abandoned cultivation planet, and the spiritual energy here wasn't dense. There were several rays of sword energy surrounding this cultivation planet. There was a cultivator standing on each ray of sword energy. Their expressions were gloomy and their eyes were cold. As they circled the planet, their divine senses were spread out and they carefully observed their surroundings. An oppressive aura continued to spread out. The cultivators on these rays of sword energy didn't have high cultivation levels, they were only at the soul transformation stage. However, the killing intent they gave off was very strong. Although their divine senses were spread out, one could see a hint of worry in their eyes. It didn't take long before a ray of sword energy flew out from the half-abandoned cultivation planet. There was an old woman standing on the sword energy. There were wrinkles on her face, but it was obvious that she was a beautiful person when she was young. If Wang Lin was here, he would find this woman familiar. The old woman also looked worried. As she flew out, a cultivator immediately closed in and respectfully said, "Greetings, Uncle Master Bai Shui." The old woman nodded slightly. She looked at the stars in the distance and slowly said, "All of you must be careful. If there are any abnormalities, you must immediately report them. There is a war right now and I, Suzaku, am too close to the Luo Tian cultivators. This is a life and death situation." The cultivator's body trembled and he lowered his head. The old woman sighed inwardly, and was just about to say something when her expression suddenly flickered. Her eyes began to shine brightly as she stared at the starry sky up ahead. Her sudden change attracted the attention of the surrounding cultivators, who all looked over. Immediately, their faces went pale, and a monstrous killing intent began to coalesce around them. Rays of sword energy flew by in the distance. There was a team of hundreds of cultivators charging toward Suzaku. The person at the front was a big-headed boy. He had his hands behind his back as he stood there with a silly smile on his face. Chapter 888. The big-headed boy had long seen the half-abandoned cultivation planet in the distance. Based on his understanding of the Alliance star system, this kind of cultivation planet should be a rank 6 cultivation country. With his cultivation level, he didn't care about a rank 6 cultivation planet at all. Not to mention the hundreds of Luo Tian cultivators behind him. They were only passing by. His real mission was to be the first wave of cultivators from the Luo Tian star system to enter the southern domain and scout the situation. As they slowly closed in, outside planet Suzaku, the old woman's expression was gloomy. Without a word, she quickly retreated. The surrounding cultivators also retreated. They all used their fastest speed to return to planet Suzaku. Seeing this, the big-headed boy laughed, and the silly expression on his face became even stronger. Not only him, but the Luo Tian cultivators behind him all began to laugh. In their view, this kind of cultivation planet was simply too weak. Any random illusory cultivator could slaughter the planet if they entered. Celestial Messenger, let us 2 brothers go to this planet. A middle-aged man walked out from behind the big-headed boy. He wasn't at the illusory Een stage, only at the peak of the late stage of ascendant. When he walked out, he looked at the big-headed boy with extreme respect. There was another person beside the middle-aged man, and the two of them looked very similar. The big-headed boy looked at Suzaku with contempt in his eyes. With his cultivation level, it would be too easy for him to destroy this planet. He said, "I'll give you 1 incense stick of time to kill all the cultivators here." The two brothers laughed, and one of them said, "Celestial Messenger, rest assured. There is no need for 1 incense stick of time for this kind of cultivation planet. Half a stick of time is enough." With that, he revealed a grin and charged towards Suzaku like a meteor. Behind him, his brother was also filled with killing intent. The two of them were very fast, and in the blink of an eye, they broke through the atmosphere around Suzaku and landed on Suzaku. Zhou stood at the top of Rosefinch's mountain. His eyes were like lightning and a powerful aura surged through his body like crazy. There was a slender sword floating before him. He stood there with a determined expression. Behind him, the cultivators all silently stood there. Only a few of these cultivators were people Wang Lin had seen before. After hundreds of years, all of them had improved. The old woman named by Shui also turned into a ray of sword energy and descended from the sky. She was a celestial elder, and Suzaku was her home. No matter what, she had to protect it. It was worth mentioning that there was an old man with the air of a celestial. He was wearing a yellow robe and had a long sword on his back. He was standing at the back of the group, so he wasn't qualified to be here. If Wang Lin saw his appearance, he would be shocked. This person was the Hengyu sect master, Huang Long. Right now his expression was very serious, and there was no trace of falsehood. However, there was a hint of playfulness in his eyes, but no one could see it. Ever since fellow cultivator Wang Lin passed the position of Rosefinch's disciple to me, I made an oath to live and die with Suzaku. Today, even if I die a horrible death, I won't retreat half a step. There were also 2 ascendant cultivators behind Zhou Wutai. Both of them were old men. If Wang Lin was here, he would recognize them. The two of them let out sighs and looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with determination. Right now, they couldn't escape. This was not a simple battle, but a battle between 2 star systems. They had already found out about this from the information the Cultivation Alliance had released. Fortunately, they already had a backup plan, or else they would without a doubt die. On the other side of Suzaku, Yunzi opened his eyes after hundreds of years of closed-door cultivation. He looked even older and the tattoo between his eyebrows flashed. He stood up and took a step forward. He appeared in the air and looked ahead. Behind him, the forsaken immortal clan members all gathered. Their expressions were very serious. At the same time, on Suzaku, some of the cultivators that didn't care about worldly affairs walked out. They looked at the sky and an extreme pressure filled the world. Under this pressure, it was as if mountains were descending from the sky. Anyone who tried to fight back would be crushed to pieces. In the Cloud Sky sect, Tai Yen was already very old. His eyes were dim and he was surrounded by death aura. His lifespan had reached its end, but he struggled to stand in the square of the Cloud Sky sect and silently stared at the sky. At this moment, all of the cultivators on planet Suzaku raised their heads to look at the sky. The sects from the rank 5 cultivation countries, the rank 4 cultivation countries, and the rank 3 cultivation countries all had serious expressions on their faces. A life and death crisis, a calamity that would destroy planet Suzaku, had descended with the 2 meteors. Those 2 meteors were the 2 Luo Tian brothers. The moment the 2 brothers arrived, they began to laugh like crazy. Their laughter was extremely arrogant. The 2 of them indeed had the qualifications to laugh. Peak late-stage, ascendant cultivators were definitely at the top of the cultivation world on Suzaku. The 2 of them formed a very powerful force. This kind of abandoned cultivation planet has so many cultivators. If this was my Luotian star system, no one would dare to occupy this planet. The Alliance star system is only SOSO. As they laughed, one of them spread out his cultivation like crazy. His divine sense swept across Suzaku like a storm. At this instant, the powerful cultivators on Suzaku, Zhou-Wutai, Yun-Keizi, and a few other ascendant cultivators immediately flew into the air. Prepare for war. However, just at this moment, the Luotian cultivator's divine sense swept across the cloud sky sect. He felt like he was struck by lightning, as if hundreds of thousands of bolts of lightning had exploded in his ears. This caused him to almost lose his balance. His eyes bulged and revealed a look of disbelief. There was even a sense of fear that spread throughout his body. There was a giant statue at the gate of the Cloud Sky sect. This statue was of Wang Lin. That extremely similar carving completely outlined Wang Lin's appearance. The coldness in his eyes was bone-chilling. When the other Luotian cultivator saw his brother's expression, he was shocked. His divine sense spread out and locked onto the statue. His entire body began to tremble. The terror in his eyes was 10 times, 100 times stronger than his brother's. Demon. Master Demon Su Mu. The two of them felt their scalps go numb and their hearts began to race. They looked at each other in shock and saw the panic in each other's eyes. Master Demon Su Mu's name was simply too famous in the Luotian star system. In particular, during the immortal bestowal, he had obtained the title of a true rank Thunder Immortal, and was able to command 3,000 cultivators. That kind of prestige, that kind of aura, was not something an ordinary person could easily possess. Let alone the two brothers, even the patriarchs of their clans would have to be respectful when they saw Su Mu. Even the celestial messenger leading the team, the big-headed boy, would be shocked. The two of them cursed in their hearts, but they no longer had any killing intent or arrogance. The panic in their hearts caused them to quickly escape without any hesitation. They were too clear about the meaning of Master Demon Su Mu in the Luotian star system. That was slaughter, a bloody slaughter. Anyone who opposed this person would without a doubt die. Shimizu Celestial Lord's junior brother, a true Thunder Celestial, the number 1 cultivator among the younger generation in the Luotian star system, the cultivator that countless families were grateful to, and the Yao family, the one who was heavily injured by them. Any one of these rules and regulations could kill the two brothers countless times. Right now, they didn't even want to ask any questions. The only thought in their minds was to quickly leave. With their eyesight, there was no way they were wrong. That statue was Su Mu. No matter how much courage they had, they wouldn't dare to provoke Su Mu. As for why a statue of Su Mu would appear here and be worshipped by someone, the two of them didn't want to know and didn't want to know. The regret in their hearts was monstrous. If they knew this was going to happen, they wouldn't have rashly stepped forward. This kind of thing would definitely offend Su Mu. The two brothers' quick departure shocked the cultivators of the Suzaku star system, especially Zhou-Wutai. He was already prepared for a fierce battle, so this sudden reversal startled him. Not only him, but the people from the Forsaken Immortal clan were also shocked. Only Yunxi's eyes narrowed as he looked toward the Cloud Sky sect. He was the oldest person in the Suzaku star system, and his cultivation level had increased a lot during these years of closed-door cultivation. The two Luotian star system cultivators' divine senses were focused on the Cloud Sky sect, which was why such a scene occurred. The Cloud Sky sect. What kind of treasure could scare away two peak late-stage ascendant cultivators? And looking at the expressions of those two powerhouses, it's almost as if they're running away. Skylark Z saw with his own eyes the two powerful cultivators fleeing in panic, and he was extremely surprised. His divine sense spread out and suddenly locked onto the statue of Wang Lin in the Cloud Sky sect. Could it be? Yunxi's eyes suddenly widened and he felt like he couldn't believe it. Zhou Wutai and the other old monsters also thought of this. These people were all smart people, so after pondering for a bit, they all realized what the problem was. Their divine senses quickly spread out and locked onto the cloud sky sect. Tai Yen looked at the statue of Wang Lin. His eyes were filled with excitement as he muttered, "Benefactor, it must be because of Benefactor." As for the two Luo Tian star system cultivators, they immediately flew out from the Suzaku star system in panic. They saw the big-headed boy and the cultivators behind him. The big-headed boy originally had his eyes closed, but now he opened them. He frowned and calmly said, "What's the problem?" There was a name wrong, so it had to be slightly changed. Chapter 889. On the abandoned planet, the area hundreds of thousands of kilometers around Wang Lin was withered and the earth was covered in crack. All the vitality had been devoured by Wang Lin. His body was changing rapidly as he continued to absorb the tremendous life force. Gradually, his appearance returned to normal, and the life force in his body was rapidly replenished. After opening his eyes, Wang Lin's eyes were filled with thunder. He took a deep breath and muttered, "Relying on the finger of death to recover vitality has its drawbacks." After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin stood up and took a step out of the abandoned planet. Ta Shan's body flickered and he disappeared into Wang Lin's body. Suzaku. Ripples appeared under Wang Lin's feet and he merged with the world. Outside Suzaku, the big-headed boy's question entered the ears of the two Luo Tian cultivators. The two Luo Tian cultivators suppressed the panic in their hearts and one of them immediately said, "Celestial Messenger, we saw a statue on this cultivation planet. I told you to go slaughter a planet, not to look at some statue." The big-headed boy directly interrupted the other person's words, and there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. Although he still had a silly smile on his face, this smile was filled with killing intent. The cultivator was about to speak when his brother pulled him back. He looked at the big-headed boy and respectfully said, "Lord Celestial Messenger, once you see it for yourself, you will know why the two of us came back." With that, he no longer looked at the big-headed boy and pulled his brother back to the group of cultivators. The big-headed boy gloomily looked at the two of them before taking a step toward Suzaku. Normally, he wouldn't even bother to enter a cultivation planet like this. Whenever he encountered a half-abandoned planet like this, his subordinates would go up and slaughter it before he would immediately leave. In his eyes, only a rank 7 cultivation planet was suitable for him to use his spells. Unfortunately, we haven't encountered a rank 7 cultivation planet yet. I want to see who can scare away 2 peak ascendant cultivators in this abandoned land. The big-headed boy let out a cold snort. Before he even closed in, his divine sense spread out. His cultivation level had reached the early stage of Nirvana Scryer, and he had chosen to enter the celestial pool to give up his domain and obtain celestial origin. He had secretly used the immortal technique a few times, and the power of it had made him extremely surprised. At this moment, his divine sense spread out and turned into an extremely strong storm. In the blink of an eye, it swept across the entire Suzaku. His divine sense was too powerful, and as it descended, it caused an unprecedented uproar on Suzaku. Several mountains collapsed and the river seemed to boil, setting off monstrous waves. At this moment, all of the cultivators on Suzaku felt like they were being crushed by tens of thousands of mountains. As this divine sense spread out, it turned into countless thunderous rumbles that echoed like crazy. It created a sonic boom that made Suzaku feel like it was facing the end. The violent divine sense turned into a large, black cloud that shrouded the world and mercilessly pressed down. The ascendant cultivators' bodies trembled and their origin souls almost collapsed. As for the soul transformation cultivators, they coughed out blood and their bodies immediately weakened. The core formation cultivators' bodies all trembled and cracks appeared on their cores. Their faces turned pale and their eyes were filled with terror and despair. The Foundation establishment and Qi condensation cultivators all exploded into blood mists and fell to the ground. Their breathing was weak. If even the cultivators were like this, there was no need to talk about the mortals. All of Suzaku passed out at this moment. The only thing that echoed in their minds was the rumbling sound. At this moment, Suzaku was completely silent. This was only because the big-headed cultivator didn't want to kill mortals. Otherwise, with a sweep of his divine sense, all living things would be destroyed. Only a few people were struggling under this divine sense. Zhou Wutai had the Azure Dragon bloodline and had inherited the Ascendant Crystal. As he let out a roar, green light appeared on his body and turned into green scales. A powerful aura erupted from his body, and a 1,000-foot-long green dragon appeared above him. It let out a roar toward the sky. Yangtze's body was covered in golden runes. His face was pale and the veins on his face were bulging. At this moment, he felt like he was facing the heavens and earth. It was as if there was a will inside this divine sense that wanted to make him yield. He had never experienced this kind of feeling before. It was as if this will came from the depths of his soul. Roar. Although Yangtze was old, at this moment, he let out a roar and the shadow of a giant tree appeared in the sky. A powerful aura surged through his body like crazy. Under this powerful pressure, he had made a breakthrough. A cold snort came from the sky. As this sound echoed, it set off a thunderous rumble. The earth trembled as if the world was turning upside down. Yangtze's body trembled and he coughed out a large mouthful of blood. All of the runes around his body collapsed, and he revealed a miserable smile. The runes didn't collapse because of the other party's power, but because of the will that was trying to make him yield. The big-headed boy's expression was calm as he slowly descended from the sky with his hands behind his back. The wind blew by, but when it got within 1,000 feet of him, it was pushed back. It was as if the wind didn't dare to get close. In the eyes of the Suzaku cultivators, the unimaginably powerful cultivation slowly dissipated as the big-headed boy descended. Everyone on this abandoned planet is a bunch of trash. Under the heavens' law, what is the point of keeping you? Fortunately, you met this celestial, so I'll help you. As the big-headed boy spoke, he raised his right hand and casually pointed into the distance. With this point of his finger, a rich celestial spiritual energy filled the area and turned into a ray of golden light. This golden light was filled with powerful celestial spiritual energy and contained a terrifying celestial spell. The green dragon that Zhou Wutai had created was pierced by this celestial spell. A miserable roar echoed as the green dragon protecting Suzaku collapsed with a trace of unwillingness. Zhou Wutai's body trembled and he coughed out blood, but his eyes were filled with battle intent. Just at this moment, the big-headed boy's body suddenly stopped. His divine sense had spread out to search for a statue. At this moment, he saw a giant statue inside a sect. The moment he saw this statue, even with his mental fortitude, he couldn't help but gasp. His eyes were filled with horror. This. His body trembled and he subconsciously took a few steps back. His heart pounded and his expression changed rapidly. He could never have imagined that he would see a statue of Su Mu here. What Su Mu brought him was a nightmare. In that one line to the sky, he didn't have the ability to fight back at all. He immediately died to that thunder spell that made his scalp go numb and his mind tremble. Even after he entered the celestial pool, he didn't dare to provoke Su Mu. Every time he thought about that unimaginably powerful spell, he would feel fear. At this moment, he took a deep breath and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was outside the cloud sky sect. He was staring at the statue of Wang Lin. The more he looked, the more shocked he became. The more he looked, the more his mind trembled. Child of the demon Tao, Su Mu. The big-headed boy's face was pale as he stared at the statue. He was absolutely sure that this statue was Su Mu. After all, He had died to Su Mu once. Su Mu's appearance had been engraved in his heart. Staring at the statue, the big-headed boy finally understood why the two Luo Tian cultivators were so scared that they ran away. Su Mu's fame was simply too great. Even he couldn't help but want to retreat. Tai Yin was sitting in the square next to the statue. He stared at the big-headed boy and sneered. The seriously injured Yunque Zi's eyes lit up. His divine sense had naturally seen what the big-headed boy was doing. When he saw that the big-headed boy was also stunned by the statue of Wang Lin, Yunque Zi's eyes were filled with shock. Could it be that these Luo Tian cultivators know that little boy Wang Lin? But even if they know him, they shouldn't have such an expression. Could it be? A guess that even he thought was absurd appeared in Yunque Zi's mind. Zhou Wutai was the same. He was seriously injured, but in order to protect Rosefinch, he was willing to risk it all. He had made an oath before Wang Lin, and he would keep it no matter what. If Rosefinch was alive, he would live. If Rosefinch was gone, he would die. As for the big-headed boy, he stared at the statue of Wang Lin, and his mind trembled. He was truly afraid of Wang Lin. At this moment, when he stood there and met the gaze of the statue, all the hair on his body stood up. It was as if he was facing the real Wang Lin. He subconsciously retreated a few dozen feet and his expression immediately became gloomy. I really can't provoke Su Mu for an abandoned cultivation planet. However, there is a statue of Su Mu here, and it looks like this statue has been here for hundreds of years. This Su Mu is not someone from my Luo Tian star system. He is a cultivator from the Alliance star system. Yes, that's right. The big-headed boy's heart pounded like crazy. He felt like he had grasped a big secret, and it was very likely that he could use this secret to ruin Su Mu's reputation and even his life. The big-headed boy laughed like crazy and his eyes shined brightly. With one step, he arrived before the statue. He raised his right hand and mercilessly slammed down. He shouted, "Break for me!" He didn't dare to provoke Su Mu, so he could only vent his anger. Just as he raised his hand, Tai Yin, who was sitting in the square below the statue, stared at the big-headed boy without any fear. Blood was still flowing from the corner of his mouth as he coldly said, "You destroyed Benefactor's statue, so you will without a doubt die." The big-headed boy's right hand paused and his gaze fell on Tai Yin. He had already seen that Tai Yan's lifespan was about to end and he was like a dried-up oil lamp. He sneered. Forget destroying a statue, even if Su Mu personally came, this celestial wouldn't care. He raised his right hand and was about to slam down, but at this moment, a voice that was filled with endless coldness echoed from the Suzaku. Say it again. This voice was so cold that it could freeze the world. Su Mu. The big-headed boy felt like he had been hit in the head. His face turned pale and he retreated without hesitation. The blood on his face disappeared, but he was scared out of his wits and his mind trembled. "I can't fight, quickly retreat." As he retreated, he coughed out a large mouthful of blood. Without hesitation, he used the blood escape that would damage his cultivation. He had developed a strong fear of Su Mu in the one line to heaven. Benefactor. Tai Yan's eyes were filled with excitement. He looked at the figure that walked out from the statue and shed 2 lines of tears. Wang Lin. Yunque Zi sucked in a breath of cold air. Wang Lin. Zhou Wutai's eyes were filled with ecstasy and shock. Wang Lin. At this moment, all the cultivators that had awakened were shocked. Wang Lin, Suzaku, the real ancestor. You can't escape. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with monstrous killing intent as he took a step forward. Tomorrow, which is Friday at 19:30 p.m., I hope that everyone can come and join in the fun. Over the past 2 days, Zhen had written a total of 7 chapters of 21,000 words. Everyone was not satisfied with yesterday's chapter. Zhen was bitter but could not say anything. The subsequent plot was all in his mind. Originally, the plot was very coherent. He wished he could immediately write out the next 3 chapters. However, he really could not write it. He could only stare blankly at the computer and sigh in his heart. He was very depressed and very sullen. Today, in order not to let everyone misunderstand Jen again, he gritted his teeth and wrote 3 chapters. There weren't many monthly votes yesterday. Those who didn't vote today. They urgently need to maintain their monthly vote. It's going to drop. Chapter 890. The big-headed boy's eyes were filled with terror. As he coughed out blood, his body was covered in a blood light. In an instant, he turned into a blood shadow and retreated at an unimaginable speed. This blood escape was silent, but it was several times faster than lightning. In the blink of an eye, he was about to leave the Suzaku. However, just at this moment, Wang Lin stepped forward and ripples echoed. His figure immediately disappeared and merged with the world. He was even faster than the blood shadow and directly appeared before the blood shadow. The moment Wang Lin's figure appeared, his right hand contained the yin and yang fishes, and he mercilessly slammed forward. The palm landed in the void, but there was a thunderous rumble. This palm contained Wang Lin's Tao and origin energy. It turned into a storm that shook the world. The blood light around the big-headed boy suddenly collapsed and his face turned pale. Although Wang Lin's spell landed in the void, there was a strange black and white gas. The white gas rushed into the void, but strangely, it appeared inside the big-headed boy's body and rushed toward his origin soul. The big-headed boy had never encountered this kind of spell in his entire life. He was shocked and the white gas collapsed inside his body, causing all the celestial origin energy in his body to collapse as well. That was only secondary. What really caused the big-headed boy to gasp was the black gas. It surrounded his body, and as it moved, wrinkles appeared on his skin. A large amount of life force was flowing out of his body like crazy. This change caused the big-headed boy to tremble violently, and his spell was broken by Wang Lin. A powerful force came from the void and smashed into the boy's body. He was like a meteor falling from the sky, and he was sent crashing toward the ground. This scene was seen by the awakened cultivators on the Suzaku, and they all became excited. Some of the cultivators that were shaken by the big-headed boy's divine sense gradually awakened. It was unknown who started first, but rays of sword light flew out from their sects toward the edge of the battlefield. Gradually, more and more cultivators turned into sword lights and flew over. Among them were Zhou Wutai and Skylark. At this moment, not far from where Wang Lin and the big-headed boy were fighting, there was a mortal imperial city. There was an old man with a head full of white hair. His eyes were dim and he was obviously injured by the big-headed boy's divine sense. However, he struggled to spread out his divine sense to observe the battle in the sky. He was in a secret chamber. In front of him hung a withered yellow painting. The person in the painting was a benevolent old man. Below the painting was a memorial tablet with a row of words engraved on it: Wang Clan, Ancestor Wang Zhua's spirit. As for the big-headed boy, he felt a powerful impact and popping sounds came from his body. His body quickly fell to the ground, and the celestial origin energy inside his body rapidly rotated. His right hand mercilessly pointed at many parts of his body. Finally, after falling several thousand feet, he stopped himself. He let out a scream and rushed out. His hands formed a seal and a powerful burst of celestial spiritual energy came from his body. This celestial spiritual energy was very dense and formed a large net before him. Celestial spell, Spirit Destruction Net. As the big-headed boy roared, the net before him began to grow. In an instant, it was more than 1,000 feet wide and closed in on Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was cold and his eyes were cold. He didn't stop at all and stepped forward. Just as the net was about to close in, ripples appeared under his feet and he disappeared without a trace. The big-headed boy's face was pale and his eyes were filled with shock. He had felt that something was wrong. His blood escape was the fastest spell in his family. It came at the cost of one's own cultivation, and it was much faster than teleportation. He had escaped several life and death crises in the past with this blood escape. But just now, Su-mu had used some unknown divine ability to instantly surpass his speed. This scene scared him out of his wits, but he didn't have time to think about it. Now that he saw Su-mu use this divine ability again, all the hair on his body stood on end. All the celestial origin energy in his body surged and erupted from his body. A large amount of white fog suddenly came out of the big-headed boy's body. The moment the fog left his body, it turned into a storm that swept by. It created a violent howl around the big-headed boy. As the storm swept by, Wang Lin's figure appeared. His 2 fingers formed a sword and dozens of heavenly chops fused into one and landed on the howling celestial origin energy vortex. Cold sweat covered the big-headed boy's body, and he retreated once more. He felt fear from the bottom of his heart toward Wang Lin's elusive figure, especially since Wang Lin hadn't used that terrifying heavenly thunder spell yet. Thinking about the heavenly thunder spell, the fear in the big-headed boy's eyes became even stronger. As he retreated, he anxiously shouted, "Su-mu! I didn't kill a single person here. Why do you have to force me?" Wang Lin's expression was cold and he stopped. The big-headed boy's eyes were filled with joy and he immediately charged into the sky. He shouted, "Fellow cultivator Su-mu, you and I aren't enemies. I was reckless this time. I'll leave now." His heart pounded. This was a true life and death crisis. He swore that if he escaped, he would immediately rush back to the Luo Tian's base in the Alliance and expose Su-mu's identity. "Su-mu, I'll remember what happened today. This time, I'll make sure you lose your reputation in the Luo Tian. When a senior like Blood God comes to kill you, I want to see how you will escape. Even your senior brother, Shimizu, won't be able to protect you." The big-headed boy clenched his teeth, but he didn't dare to reveal his emotions at all. He charged into the sky and was about to reach the atmosphere. As long as he left this place, with the hundreds of cultivators outside as witnesses, this Su-mu wouldn't dare to attack again. Wang Lin revealed a sneer. He knew what the big-headed boy was thinking. He raised his right hand and the sound of a bell echoed inside his body. At the same time, the shadow of the ancient god furnace appeared around Wang Lin. The moment the ancient god furnace appeared, Wang Lin calmly said, "Change positions." In an instant, the escaping big-headed boy's body shined with a ghostly light. This ghostly light appeared too suddenly, causing the big-headed boy to be startled. However, his eyes were filled with monstrous fear. His body dissipated in an instant, and his position with Wang Lin reversed the heavens and earth. "I said, with me here, you can't escape." Wang Lin walked toward the big-headed boy step by step, and the coldness in his eyes became even stronger. The big-headed boy felt bitter in his heart. As Wang Lin closed in, a feeling of being unable to resist spread like crazy from the bottom of his heart. At this moment, Wang Lin was like the incarnation of a giant. His heart trembled as he clenched his teeth and revealed a ferocious gaze. The big-headed boy quickly retreated. His hands formed a seal, and he began to chant a strange chant. A gloomy aura swept across the world. "Su-mu, you forced me to do this." The big-headed boy stopped chanting and countless translucent runes appeared in the void before him. These runes all gave off a ghostly aura. After they appeared, they didn't attack Wang Lin but quickly entered the big-headed boy's body. A painful roar came from the big-headed boy. He knew that all his treasures and spells were useless before Su-mu. When he thought about how Su-mu still hadn't used the heavenly thunder spell, he became even more uneasy. It was as if Su-mu had everything planned out and any resistance he put up was insignificant in Su-mu's eyes. This feeling caused his scalp to go numb and he even thought about surrendering. However, he was unwilling, so he didn't hesitate to use his strongest celestial spell. As the runes entered his body, the big-headed boy's body immediately withered. It was as if all the essence of his flesh and blood was gathering toward his head. He originally had a big head and a small body, but after using this strange spell, his body became even smaller. He was almost no different from a skeleton, but his head was so exaggerated that it was shocking. The boy's huge head made him look extremely ferocious. Veins popped up on his head like countless worms wriggling. It was so terrifying that if a mortal saw him at night, they would definitely be scared to death. The big-headed boy didn't have many strands of hair to begin with. When he used this strange spell, all the hair on his head fell off, making him look like he didn't have a single strand of hair on his head. A sharp howl echoed as the big-headed boy's hands formed a seal and pointed to the ears on both sides of his head. His eyes bulged out as he stared at Wang Lin and he roared, "Celestial spell, tendon movement." As his roar echoed, popping sounds echoed. The countless moving veins on the boy's head charged out of his skin and turned into green and red snake. They intersected with each other and extended endlessly toward Wang Lin like a meat pillar. Wang Lin's expression was still calm. The reason he didn't use a powerful spell was because he had other uses for this big-headed boy. If he used a powerful spell, it would be easy for him to kill the big-headed boy with his cultivation level, but he wouldn't be able to do it too accurately. In addition, this person was one of the 36 heaven celestials. Wang Lin wasn't ready to cut ties with the Luo Tian yet. If he killed a normal cultivator it would be fine, but killing a heaven celestial, especially when there were hundreds of Luo Tian cultivators besides Suzaku, was not a wise move. However, with Wang Lin's personality, since this person had provoked him, there was no way he would let him go. He had his own plan. Tragedy. I received a call from Qidian. The Sanjiang interview that was originally scheduled for 7:30 tonight has been postponed to the 23rd, which is next Monday night. Tragedy. Please give me some monthly tickets. Chapter 891. The big-headed boy's eyes revealed a ferocious gaze. He was like a wild beast that had been forced into a dead end and was ready to go all out. The big-headed boy's life was filled with tragedy. When he was born, he had a big head and a small body. As a child, he was often ridiculed by his peers in the family. If that was it, it wouldn't be a big deal. However, aside from his abnormal body, he was also born with a silly smile that was constantly revealed on his face. As for his mother, she was extremely disgusted with him, and completely ignored him. During his childhood, he had been subjected to all sorts of insults and insults. However, he did not understand all of this very well. Throughout the day, no matter who he saw, he would smile foolishly. With his talent, he couldn't cultivate. When he was 15, he was kicked out by the family and was no longer included in the family record. However, no one expected him to appear in the family 500 years later. His appearance hadn't changed much, and he still had that silly smile on his face. However, his cultivation level had reached the ascendant stage. As a result, he immediately caught the attention of the family. From then on, he was accepted into the family as an elite. Time slowly passed, and the big-headed boy's cultivation level increased by leaps and bounds. He had reached the peak of the corporeal yang stage. His childhood memories had caused his personality to be twisted. In the past 1,000 years, many people in his family had been tortured to death. Regardless of whether they were men or women, they all died miserable death. He was extremely cautious in this matter. He didn't act, but when he did, he had to make sure no one would find out. However, 30 years ago, the family finally couldn't stand it anymore. The early-stage Nirvana Scryer ancestor personally attacked him to kill him. Originally, everyone in the family thought they would win this battle, but in the end, the big-headed boy revealed his Nirvana Scryer cultivation. He had reached the Nirvana Scryer stage decades ago, but he had been hiding it. At this moment, he revealed his cultivation to battle the ancestor. In this battle, the ancestor died and the big-headed boy retreated with serious injuries. From then on, there was no news of him until the celestial competition. When this person appeared, he set off a huge wave in the family. Thinking back to his life, the fierceness in the big-headed boy's eyes became even stronger. As he roared, tendons rushed out from his large head. They gave off an extremely domineering aura, as if they wanted to tear the world apart, and charged at Wang Lin. As the celestial qi spread out, there was also a strand of devilish qi. As it shot toward Wang Lin, a popping sound could be heard as the front of the column of flesh collapsed. It transformed into countless strands that formed a net that shot toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he sneered and spat out an item. It was the celestial sealing stamp. The moment it appeared, it gave off a dazzling golden light. In an instant, hundreds of thousands of golden runes appeared and formed a golden vortex that swept forward. The intersecting tendons spread out and immediately wrapped around the celestial sealing stamp. However, the vortex of golden runes directly rushed out and frantically landed on the intersecting tendons. Every time one of them landed, it would form a seal. The golden runes that had fused with the cultivator's origin soul were extremely ferocious. When they landed, a thunderous rumble echoed. Each time they landed, they were 100 times stronger than a normal seal. In almost an instant, as the golden storm spread out, the big-headed boy's body gave off a golden light and he was completely sealed. With a roar, the big-headed boy's eyes turned red and he began to struggle. Popping sounds echoed and countless runes collapsed. Just at this moment, Wang Lin moved. Wang Lin stepped out with his right foot and ripples appeared under his feet. With his second step, the void seemed to shrink. It was as if he could reach any place in the world with one step. Spatial bending. With the next step, Wang Lin appeared next to the big-headed boy. His two fingers formed a sword and his Tao and origin energy fused. As he pointed out, the yin and yang fishes appeared. With one finger, black and white gas surrounded Wang Lin's finger and penetrated the layers of golden runes. These runes immediately moved aside when Wang Lin's finger closed in. This allowed Wang Lin's finger to press down between the big-headed boy's eyebrows. The big-headed boy's eyes were filled with terror and he retreated without hesitation. However, compared to Wang Lin's speed, his movements were too slow. At this moment, he only felt heat between his eyebrows and a powerful shockwave erupted from his body. Black and white gas surrounded his body, causing the big-headed boy's head to rapidly shrink as if it was about to collapse. The tendons that extended out also rapidly shrank. He directly coughed out a mouthful of blood. This blood wasn't blindly coughed out, but it rushed into Wang Lin's body. Every drop of blood contained dense celestial spiritual energy. If this drop of blood landed on Wang Lin's body, his body would immediately collapse. After all, the big-headed boy's cultivation was not simple. He was a second-step Nirvana Scryer cultivator. Wang Lin's expression was neutral and he didn't even dodge. As the blood closed in, he coldly said, "Stop." With his early-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivation, using the Stop Celestial spell was already far stronger than before. What's more, the moment Wang Lin used the Stop Celestial spell, the celestial origin energy that Shimizu had left in his body rapidly rotated. A sliver of celestial origin energy came out of his body and fused with the world. This caused the Stop spell to reach a height that Wang Lin hadn't reached since he learned it. With one word, all the blood that was rushing toward Wang Lin froze in the air. Not only the blood, but even the big-headed boy, who was taking this opportunity to retreat, froze. He maintained the fear in his eyes and remained motionless. From beginning to end, Wang Lin's expression was calm. His body flickered and he dodged the blood. His right hand moved like lightning and pressed down between the big-headed boy's eyebrows once more. The big-headed boy's body trembled and he was thrown back. Blood mist erupted from many parts of his body. Even now, the power of the Stop spell hadn't dissipated. Wang Lin took a step and chased after the big-headed boy once more. However, just at this moment, his expression changed. Rays of sword energy appeared in the sky. The hundreds of Luo Tian cultivators around Suzaku noticed that something was wrong and rushed over. They all had powerful cultivation levels, so they broke through the atmosphere and descended on Suzaku. The appearance of these people created an unimaginable pressure. The cultivators around Suzaku had never seen so many powerful cultivators before, so they were all startled. The moment the Luo Tian cultivators arrived, they immediately saw Wang Lin and the big-headed boy. When they saw Wang Lin, their expressions all changed greatly. Wang Lin didn't stop. As he chased after them, he slapped his bag of holding and the celestial treasure that Master Flamespark had given him, the heavenly tiger flag that represented his identity as a thunder celestial, flew out. The flag flashed and a heaven-shaking tiger roar came out. At the same time, purple gas surrounded the flag and turned into a fierce tiger that roared at the hundreds of Luo Tian cultivators. This celestial is sparring with others. You all guard the outside. Anyone who disobeys will be killed. Wang Lin didn't turn around. As he walked out, his 2 fingers pressed down between the big-headed boy's eyebrows once more. With a bang, the big-headed boy's body fell from the sky and mercilessly smashed into the ground. With a bang, a deep hole appeared in the ground and caused the surrounding area to tremble. Some of the hundreds of Luo Tian cultivators in the sky were smart and quickly retreated without hesitation. They secretly cursed in their hearts. If they had known this would happen, they wouldn't have come to take a look. The battle between the 2 celestial messengers was not something they could participate in. With someone taking the lead, the Luo Tian cultivators all cautiously retreated. They flew out of Suzaku, but none of them dared to participate. This scene caused the Suzaku cultivators to realize that the Rosefinch ancestor, Wang Lin, had a very high status among the Luo Tian cultivators. Wang Lin landed on the ground and looked at the big-headed boy in the hole. The stop spell had already dissipated. The big-headed boy's face was pale and his body was covered in blood. He looked at Wang Lin with fear in his eyes. Wang Lin coldly looked at the big-headed boy and raised his right hand. There was a flash of blue light, and a large amount of thunderclouds appeared in the sky above Suzaku. Bolts of lightning seemed to be controlled by someone as they quickly left the thunderclouds and flew toward Wang Lin's right hand. In an instant, a ball of thunder condensed in Wang Lin's right hand. Popping sounds echoed and countless arcs of thunder spread out. From afar, it looked like all the thunder in the world was in Wang Lin's control. The moment he saw the lightning, the big-headed boy's body trembled. The scene that had terrified him in the one-line sky replayed in his mind. This time, he was truly afraid, completely and utterly afraid. The big-headed boy's pupils shrank as he stared at the ball of thunder and bitterly said, "Brother Su, it wasn't easy for me to cultivate for nearly 2,000 years. If you want to kill me, I'll agree to all your requests." He wasn't a fool. In his battle with Wang Lin didn't use any powerful spells. It was clear that Wang Lin didn't want to kill him. If he knew his place, he might be able to avoid this calamity. Wang Lin calmly said, "I need a servant." The big-headed boy pondered for a moment before saying, "I entered the celestial pool and lost my domain. I can't offer my Tao intent." "No problem, I have a spell. If you are willing, it won't hurt you at all. However, if you resist, the spell will collapse and you will immediately die." As Wang Lin spoke, he raised his right hand and a strange mark condensed in his hand. The celestial beings in his body began to rotate and strands of celestial energy flowed out and entered the mark in Wang Lin's right hand. There was a flash of golden light and a dark golden mark appeared in Wang Lin's right hand. In the jade he obtained from Celestial Emperor Qinglin, aside from the method to refine celestial guards, there were also some sealing and control spells. However, when Wang Lin tried to use these spells, they weren't as powerful as what was recorded in the jade. There was even a vague mention of Li Yuan's slave mark in Celestial Emperor Qinglin's jade. Wang Lin didn't have a clue after analyzing it. It wasn't until he learned about the existence of celestial origin energy that he suddenly understood. This kind of sealing spell could only be used by a celestial. Without celestial origin energy, it couldn't display its full power. At this moment, he used the celestial origin energy in his body to form a seal. This seal flashed and landed between the big-headed boy's eyebrows. At this moment, Wang Lin had a feeling that with just one thought, he could destroy this big-headed boy. He pondered a bit and realized the difference between this sealing spell and the celestial guards. Let me rest for 2 days in a row. In terms of monthly votes, the people behind me are catching up too fiercely. If I'm not careful, I'll be overtaken. Fellow Taoists, if you have any divine abilities or immortal arts, use them all. Chapter 892. It was clear that Celestial Emperor Qing Lin's Celestial Guard puppet technique came later than the sealing mystique. The Celestial Guard technique was derived from imitating the ancient gods, while the sealing mystique was a method immortals used to strictly control their servants. There was a difference between the two. The Celestial Guard focused on the strength of the body and the spell came second. Once the refinement was successful, the Celestial Guard would never betray the master unless it was the master's will. The sealing spell wasn't perfect in this regard. But as long as it was a spell, it wouldn't last forever. With time and other factors, it would eventually be broken. Wang Lin was very clear about this. When the seal landed between the eyebrows of the big-headed boy, the boy's body trembled. His celestial origin energy surged inside his body, and an identical seal appeared on his origin soul. He took a deep breath and got up with a bitter smile. He respectfully stood on the side and said, "Greetings, Master." Wang Lin looked at the big-headed boy and calmly said, "Go outside this planet and arrange for those Luo Tian cultivators to leave. As for you, stay here." The big-headed boy quickly nodded and let out a sigh. Then he charged into the sky. Wang Lin looked at the familiar land around him and his eyes were filled with reminiscence. This was the place where he was born, the hometown where he took his first step in cultivation. He had left a lot of memories here. After leaving this place for hundreds of years, Wang Lin felt melancholy. It was a very complicated emotion that he couldn't explain. "I wonder how many of my old friends I can still see." Wang Lin's eyes were filled with sadness. The shadow behind him flickered and Ta Shan stepped out. He silently stood behind Wang Lin. Wang Lin looked at his familiar hometown and the melancholy in his heart became even stronger. Not long after, the big-headed boy descended from the sky and stood behind Wang Lin with a calm expression. There were a few rays of light flying through the sky. 2 of them were the fastest, and they closed in almost an instant. These 2 rays of light were Zhou Wutai and Yangtze. Wang Lin was filled with melancholy as he took a step forward and disappeared. Only a divine sense message entered Zhou Wutai and Yangtze's ears and echoed in their minds. "I want to be quiet for a bit." As soon as the divine sense entered Zhou Wutai's mind, a tremor ran through him. The divine sense was very light, but it caused his mind to tremble. It was as if he were facing up against the might of the heavens. Although he was astonished, his heart filled with respect. At the same time, he was filled with mixed emotions. I didn't expect him to reach such a terrifying height after a few hundred years. Zhou Wutai was, after all, the son of Rosefinch. He quickly suppressed the shock in his heart and let out a sigh. He clasped his hands at Yangtze and left with his people. The complicated expression in Yangtze's eyes became even stronger. Wang Lin's divine sense also shocked him greatly. He thought back to the little child from back then, and now he had reached such an unimaginable height. He let out a sigh and seemed to see the figure of the young man who helped him pay for the wine in the restaurant. He thought back to the battle with the son of Rosefinch and the battle between the forsaken immortal clan and the country of Rosefinch. Aside from the passing clouds, they were really insignificant. At the same time, Zhou Wutai and Yangtze sealed the news of Wang Lin's return. Aside from the cultivators that had awakened early, most people didn't know that the Wang Lin from before had returned to the Suzaku. The reason the two of them did this was because there was a hint of melancholy in Wang Lin's divine sense. He needed peace and didn't want anyone to disturb him. Several days later, on a winding official road, Wang Lin looked at the familiar scene around him and slowly walked forward. His pace wasn't fast, and his body gave off a powerful sense of loneliness. The sun shrouded the sky, making his shadow very long. Wang Lin's body was illuminated by the setting sun, giving off a sense of loneliness. From a distance, Wang Lin didn't look like a young man anymore, but more like an old man, a wanderer who had left his hometown for many years. Behind him, Ta Shan and the big-headed boy silently followed. Ta Shan's expression didn't change at all. His duty was to protect Wang Lin. If anyone dared to show any hostility toward Wang Lin, he would be the first to act. On the other hand, the big-headed boy was silent. His heart was filled with complex emotions and he couldn't think clearly. Wang Lin slowly walked forward. Everything around him was unfamiliar, but there was also a hint of familiarity. In his memory, this road was originally a small country road, but now the world had changed and the people had changed. As he walked, the melancholy in Wang Lin's heart became even stronger. He vaguely saw the end of the official road before him. There was a huge city there, and it was bustling with people. Above the city gate, there was a plaque with a purple background and golden edges. 3 words were written on it: Imperial Ancestral City. Looking at the city from afar, Wang Lin stopped and looked at it in a daze. The scenes of his hometown appeared in his mind, and the voices and smiles of his parents filled his mind. It has changed. There was a hint of sadness on Wang Lin's face. The city in front of him had destroyed everything in his memory. The sound of horse hooves and wheels echoed behind Wang Lin as he stood up. The ground trembled slightly, and not long after, a group of carriages slowly arrived. This group of carriages was very ordinary. There were a few riders at the front opening the path, and behind them were a few carriages. In front of the carriage at the front, there was a white-haired old man. The old man's temples were bulging, and his eyes were like lightning. It was obvious that he was an expert in the martial arts world. The old man would occasionally raise the whip in his hand, and with a snap, the carriage would move even faster. When passing by Wang Lin, the old man casually turned his head to look at Wang Lin and the others, then looked away and left. Wang Lin's expression was complicated as he slowly walked behind the carriage. There were guards at the city gate, and they were responsible for checking the travel permit. If one did not have it, they would not be allowed to enter. Naturally, this did not attract Wang Lin's attention. As he walked, none of the guards noticed him. After entering the city, there were many people, and there were all kinds of shops on both sides of the street. It looked like a boiling cauldron. Wang Lin slowly walked with loneliness. The scene in front of him was very strange, very strange. Everything has changed. Wang Lin stood in front of a shop, looking at it in a daze. He remembered that there used to be an old locust tree here, and there was a blue stone under the tree. When he was young, he would often sit here and study. He still remembered that his 4th uncle, who changed his life, gave him the hope of becoming an immortal. That day, he sat on this blue stone and stared at the blue sky in a daze. At that time, he really wanted to know what the outside world was like. Looking at this shop, Wang Lin was silent. Hundreds of years passed in the blink of an eye. For cultivators, it might not be a long time, but for mortals, it was like the blue sea turning into mulberry fields. Perhaps it was because he had been standing there for a long time, but the shop assistant walked out with a frown and was about to scold him. However, when he saw Ta Shan behind Wang Lin, he couldn't help but be startled. It was rare to see a burly man like Ta Shan here. He looked around and then saw the big-headed boy. This big-headed boy had a strange and terrifying appearance. With just one look, the shop assistant's face turned pale, and he took 2 steps back. He looked at Wang Lin and forced himself to calm down. "I say, little brother, our shop sells jade. If you want to buy, then come in. If you don't want to buy, then leave. What is the meaning of standing here? Wang Lin let out a sigh and said, Little brother, was there an old locust tree here before? The shop assistant didn't want to answer, but after seeing Ta Shan and the big-headed boy behind Wang Lin, he still said, What old locust tree? I grew up in the Imperial Ancestor City, and have never seen an old locust tree. The melancholy in Wang Lin's eyes became even stronger. He turned around and walked back into the city. Ta Shan and the big-headed boy followed behind him. When the shop assistant saw Wang Lin leave, he let out a snort and returned to the shop. At this moment, an old man walked out from the back room. This old man was clearly old. He was holding a walking stick with a dragon head and was supported by a servant. After walking out, he said with a hoarse voice, What happened outside? The shop assistant quickly walked up and smiled. Shopkeeper, nothing much. A few strange people asked me if there used to be an old locust tree here. I grew up here and have never seen an old locust tree. I think those people got the wrong place. The old man was startled. His dim eyes revealed a look of reminiscence. After a long time, he softly said, I remember when I was young, I heard from the older generation that there was indeed an old locust tree here a very, very long time ago. The shop assistant was startled, but he didn't think too much about it. As Wang Lin walked forward, the scenery around him was not familiar at all. There was only an endless sense of unfamiliarity. There was an indescribable feeling in his heart, as if there was something blocking it, making him feel very uncomfortable. As he walked, Wang Lin's body suddenly trembled. At this moment, more than 1,000 years of cultivation seemed to be so weak that it couldn't even withstand a single blow. Layer by layer, his cultivation collapsed. He was like an old man who had left his hometown for many years. After seeing a familiar scene again and again, he felt an indescribable excitement. Wang Lin looked ahead. There was a stone wall surrounding the area a few thousand feet wide. There were a large number of soldiers patrolling the area. It was clear that this was a protected area and no one was allowed to enter. In addition, there were dozens of auras that belonged to cultivators circling this area. One could imagine that this was the most important place in the Imperial Ancestor City. Inside this stone wall was a scene completely different from the outside world. There were a few houses there that still looked familiar to Wang Lin. In front of the houses was a tomb that was built later. The soldiers patrolling outside the walls would occasionally look inside with respect from the bottom of their hearts. Chapter 893. Wang Lin stared at this scene in a daze and took a step forward. With this step, his entire body silently disappeared. When he reappeared, he was inside the city wall. At this moment, the sun was setting and night shrouded the earth. Wang Lin looked at everything before him, especially the grave that was built by later generations. He knelt on the ground and 2 streams of tears unknowingly flowed down from his eyes. Dad, Mom, Taiju is back. Tears flowed down Wang Lin's face. His eyes were filled with sorrow and longing. This kneel seemed to last for an eternity as time slowly passed. Ta Shan and the big-headed boy also arrived. Ta Shan's expression was still cold, but the big-headed boy looked at everything before him with a complicated expression. He originally didn't know where this place was, but after seeing Wang Lin's actions, he knew that this was Su Mu's ancestral home. The big-headed boy had never experienced family love in his life. At this moment, he couldn't help but think of his childhood. Wang Lin looked at the memorial tablet on the grave for a long time before slowly getting up. He looked at the familiar house and felt like he had returned to 1,000 years ago, back to the most precious memory in his heart. He pushed open the door to the courtyard and it creaked. Under the moonlight, nothing in the courtyard had changed. The dining table was still there, but the people were gone. Vaguely, Wang Lin seemed to hear a voice from 1,000 years ago. Taiju, how are your studies going? Taiju, you have to study hard. Next year is the county's examination. Whether you will have a bright future will depend on this. Don't be like your father, staying in the village for the rest of your life. Sigh. Alright, stop nagging me every day. In my opinion, our Tai Zhu will definitely pass. Tai Zhu, your fourth uncle, is a good person. Thanks to his help these past few years, your father's wood carvings were able to sell for a good price. If you have a future, don't forget to repay your fourth uncle. A sorrowful aura emanated from Wang Lin's body. Step by step, he walked into the courtyard, into the home he had not seen for hundreds of years. Opening the door, although Wang Lin still looked like a young man, his body was shrouded in the vicissitudes of life. He was like an old man who had not returned to his home for a long time and was constantly touching everything with his hands. Wang Lin touched the wall as the scenes of his childhood flashed through his mind. The sorrow in his heart grew stronger, and the longing for his parents filled his body. After letting Ta Shan and the big-headed boy wait outside, Wang Lin sat alone inside the ancestral home. He felt the aura of home and forgot about everything in the cultivation world. The only thing left in his mind was the joy of his childhood and the joy of being with his parents. Everything was quiet, and in that silence, Wang Lin's body and mind were cleansed. Memories of his childhood gradually floated up in his mind. He quietly sat there. Sometimes he would reveal a happy smile, and sometimes he would reveal melancholy and sadness. Now, he could only recall the scenes of his childhood by himself, lonely memories. His happiness was lonely, and his smile was clearly filled with silent sorrow and sorrow. Tears flowed down from the corners of his eyes and fell on the ground, leaving behind traces of his memories. The moon gradually passed and the sun rose in the horizon, dispelling the darkness. The sunlight fell on the earth, and it was as if the stars were moving. It continued to spread and filled the imperial ancestor city. As the light outside the window brightened, Wang Lin woke up from his memories. He looked around, stood up, and walked out. Ta Shan stood there the entire night without moving. As for the big-headed boy, the complicated expression in his eyes became even stronger. That night, he also recalled his childhood of being bullied. This caused him to feel a trace of relief for some unknown reason while feeling heart-wrenching pain. What he thought about the most was his mother who despised him. His mother's annoyed gaze was the source of his heartache, but now, it had faded a lot. Wang Lin's group of 3 didn't hide themselves. Now that the sky was bright, they immediately attracted the attention of the patrolling soldiers. Bursts of exclamations echoed, but outside the wall, groups of soldiers looked like they were facing a great enemy. Their gloomy killing intent locked onto the 3 of them. At the same time, more than 10 cultivators of different cultivation levels arrived from all directions. The lowest was at the foundation establishment stage, and the highest was at the soul formation stage. Their divine senses locked onto the 3 of them like crazy. An angry roar came from outside the wall. "How dare you? You dare to trespass into the royal ancestral home? Do you know that this is a crime punishable by death?" Sword energy flashed in the sky as cultivators arrived one by one. Their expressions were filled with anger. To Wang Lin, this anger wasn't fake, it was real anger. The 3 of you were able to enter the Wang family's ancestral home without being detected, so you must be cultivators as well. No matter what sect you are from, did your seniors not warn you that aside from the Wang family, no one else is allowed to take even half a step into this place? The person who spoke was an old man who had reached the soul formation stage among the dozen or so cultivators. Ta Shan was expressionless and didn't even look around. The big-headed boy rolled his eyes and didn't say anything. Looking at his parents' grave, Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. He looked up at the dozens of cultivators in the sky and slowly asked, "Who built this grave?" Wang Lin's voice was calm, but when it entered the ears of the surrounding cultivators, it was as if the majesty of the heavens had filled the air. They couldn't help but feel like they couldn't resist and had to obey. This feeling came too suddenly, causing the expressions of the surrounding cultivators to change greatly. The soul formation cultivator's face turned pale. His cultivation level had reached the soul formation stage, and he had a domain, so he could feel things more clearly. At this moment, he felt like his domain was about to be swallowed by one sentence. It was as if there was a force forcing him to answer. If he didn't answer, he would immediately collapse. He subconsciously took a few steps back and said with a trembling voice, This place was built by the mortal royal family. It is the old home of the royal family's ancestor, and also the childhood home of my ancestor, Suzaku." As he spoke, he suddenly looked at Wang Lin. He vaguely felt that the person before him was a bit familiar, but he couldn't remember when they had met. Royal family. Wang Lin silently pondered as he looked at his parents' grave. He turned around and was about to leave with Ta Shan and the big-headed boy. However, just at this moment, the sound of thunder came from the distance. Large amounts of dark clouds rushed over, and at the same time, an angry roar came from the clouds. "You have guts to dare to trespass into the royal family's ancestral home. My Zhao Xian Dao sect has been guarding this place for generations. Your actions are looking down on my Xian Dao sect too much." As the angry roar echoed, a person walked out from the clouds. This person had a head of white hair and his eyes shined brightly. As he walked, the aura of an early-stage soul transformation cultivator surrounded the area. When the surrounding cultivators saw the old man, they all became respectful. It was clear that this old man had a very high status here. Xian Dao sect. There was a hint of gentleness in Wang Lin's eyes as he looked at the old man. He nodded and slowly said, "You've reached the soul transformation stage. Is Zhao a rank 5 cultivation country?" The old man came in anger, but at this moment, he was startled. He frowned and shouted, "My Zhao became a rank 5 cultivation country 300 years ago. Everyone in Suzaku knows this. Who are you?" Although he said this, when he looked at Wang Lin, he felt a sense of familiarity, as if he had seen him somewhere before. Rank 5 cultivation country. Wang Lin lowered his head to look at the ground. His eyes were filled with joy. He remembered that Zhao was only a rank 3 cultivation country back then. He didn't expect it to become a rank 5 cultivation country in just a few hundred years. After withdrawing his gaze, Wang Lin carefully looked at the old man. He was able to see some clues and let out a smile. He felt a very weak aura coming from the old man. This aura belonged to Wang Lin. He remembered that when he reached the soul formation stage in Zhao, he left behind 10 spirit seed. This old man was one of them. Wang Lin smiled and asked, "Is it your Xian Dao sect that has been guarding this place for all these years? Are all the cultivators here disciples of the Xian Dao sect?" Wang Lin smiled and asked. The old man frowned and carefully looked at Wang Lin and company. He didn't know why, but he forcibly suppressed his anger. It was as if the people before him gave him a very close feeling. After hesitating for a bit, he said, "It's not just my Xian Dao sect. Every once in a while, there will be disciples from other sects that come to guard this place. The protectors who were able to come here were all people who had made great contributions to their respective sects or were extremely talented. They were prepared to be heavily nurtured. Guarding the royal ancestral home is a great honor for all the cultivators in Suzaku." The old man didn't know why, but he spoke in great detail in front of Wang Lin. Even he didn't know the reason for all of this. After hearing the old man's words, Wang Lin's gaze swept past the other cultivators. All of their talents were very good. With Wang Lin's experience, he immediately knew that what the old man said was true. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin let out a sigh. He felt touched and slowly said, "Thank you all." As he spoke, he flicked his sleeve and a wave of origin energy immediately filled the air. It transformed into specks of crystalline light that instantly entered the bodies of every single cultivator in the surroundings. Even the soldiers on the ground who held weapons in their hands had crystalline light enter their bodies. All of the cultivators' bodies trembled. They immediately felt a heat flow from their bodies and their expressions became strange. "You! The soul transformation old man was even more surprised. He looked at Wang Lin and felt that he was more and more familiar. You're very good. It was worth giving you the spirit seed back then. As Wang Lin spoke, he turned around and walked into the distance. Ta Shan and the big-headed boy followed behind him, and the three of them disappeared into the horizon. Spirit seed! Spirit seed! The old man's body trembled violently, but he immediately thought of the identity of the other person. His face was filled with excitement that he hadn't felt in hundreds of years, and he exclaimed, "Wang family ancestor!" After he spoke, the surrounding cultivators' hearts trembled. They were filled with excitement as they looked at where Wang Lin disappeared to in disbelief. He is the Wang family ancestor? The guardian of Suzaku, the first person in countless years, the Wang family ancestor, Wang Lin. Tomorrow midnight. Asking for monthly vote. They were only 200 votes away from third young master and Toad. To them, 200 votes was a matter of minutes. Asking for monthly votes, they had no choice but to ask for monthly votes. Chapter 894. As he walked between the heavens and earth, with Wang Lin's intelligence, it only took him a moment to understand why the Suzaku cultivator was so respectful to him. Zhou Wutai must have played a big role in this. In truth, it was just as Wang Lin thought. The large-eared cultivator, Zhou Wutai, was very grateful to Wang Lin for giving him the position of Rosefinch's son. However, after Wang Lin left, he never had the chance to repay Wang Lin. Zhou Wutai was a person who clearly distinguished between kindness and hatred, and he always remembered Wang Lin's kindness. As a result, whether it was the Wang family descendants, the cultivation sects Wang Lin left behind, or even the country of Zhao, they all slowly became stronger under Zhou Wutai's care. With Zhou Wutai's identity as the new Rosefinch's son, it was very easy for him to give the Wang family descendants a great fortune, allowing them to become the rulers of the mortal world. The country of Zhao slowly rose to become a rank 5 cultivation country with his help. Some people naturally knew that all of this was because of Wang Lin. Everything Wang Lin did in Rosefinch's tomb spread out. As time passed and Zhou Wutai pondered, the titles of Suzaku's protector and Suzaku's ancestor were unknowingly accepted by all cultivators. The reason Zhou Wutai did this, aside from repayment, was because he hadn't reached the ascendant stage yet, so he was the weakest Rosefinch's son. He couldn't convince the masses, so he could only use the fact that Wang Lin had already left to show off his power. Wang Lin pondered all of this. Although he wasn't able to guess everything, he was able to figure out 50% to 60% of it. He let out a sigh. No matter what Zhou Wutai did, he needed to repay him for what he had done. As they flew, Ta Shan and the big-headed boy followed. Along the way, Ta Shan's expression was as cold as ever. As for the big-headed boy, when he saw Wang Lin return to his hometown, the complicated feeling he had toward his family became even stronger. He could see that when the cultivators here looked at Su Mu, they were truly respectful from the bottom of their hearts. The big-headed boy could imagine that with his current cultivation level, if he returned to his family, he would be respected as well. However, this respect was extremely fake and was only because of the situation. In the distance, a large city appeared before them. This city was like a giant dragon, and it was filled with the aura of wealth. The surrounding walls were made of black stone, and there were fluctuations of spells coming from them. Before they got close, Wang Lin could see that there were many powerful restrictions inside the city. There were simply too many restrictions, and if they were all activated, they would pose a threat even to an ascendant cultivator. This was the only mortal capital of the country of Rosefinch aside from the land occupied by the forsaken immortal clan in Suzaku. The Great Dynasty. It was founded 437 years ago, and it became the most powerful force in Suzaku aside from the forsaken immortal clan. The Wang family of the royal family had a long history. After more than 400 years of consolidation, the dynasty had a large number of soldiers, and even countless martial artists had submitted to them. What made the dynasty even more famous was the large number of cultivators. In addition to this, the Cloud Sky sect and the various sects in Zhao were all supporting this dynasty. The Wang family members enjoyed a very high status. Wang Lin's divine sense spread out across all of Suzaku. He vaguely felt the pull of a bloodline, so he came looking for it. In this city, the Wang family had the most bloodline. He scanned the area with his divine sense but didn't find Wang Zhuo's figure. He let out a long sigh before his body flickered and he disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already inside the imperial city. Looking at the lively crowd and luxurious houses, Wang Lin gradually frowned. The entire capital of the dynasty was too luxurious. The ground was covered in precious blue and white stones, and when his divine sense spread out, he found that all the streets of the capital were like this. If this was it, it wouldn't be a big deal, but the surrounding trees were all covered in silk. Although it looked beautiful, it was actually a waste of good fortune. At Wang Lin's cultivation level, he could already see some things. The sky above the capital was filled with sadness, anger, fear, and other emotions that could disturb one's mind. If one lived here for a long time, their temperament would change, and even their lifespan would be damaged. This aura was a type of resentment. Wang Lin had people gather this aura when he was on planet Qingling. Now that he saw the resentment in the capital, he frowned even more. As his divine sense spread out, he found that all of the cities in Suzaku had different degrees of resentment. This resentment came from half of Suzaku. This resentment came from every village and every mortal's residence. It gathered in every city and lingered there for a long time. This was especially true in the northwest. The land was red and corpses were everywhere. A large amount of resentment came from there. If the resentment in the other cities was very dense, then the resentment in the sky above the capital was monstrous. It turned into a demonic flame that shot into the sky. This resentment could only be detected by someone whose cultivation level was at Wang Lin's level. If one's cultivation level wasn't high enough, they wouldn't be able to detect it at all. Nonsense. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy as he walked through the streets of the capital. He was happy to see the Wang family prosper, but this kind of prosperity would cause resentment to soar into the sky. This resentment would greatly affect the Wang family's future generations. If that happened, then he didn't need this wealth. As he walked, the sound of horse hooves came from ahead. The people in front of him immediately panicked and quickly moved to the side. Wang Lin frowned and also took a few steps back. He looked ahead with a gloomy expression. He saw several large horses galloping ahead. There were several young men sitting on the horses, and behind them was a large amount of servants. These servants were all walking, but their speed could catch up to the horses. The young men sitting on the horses were all wearing luxurious clothes. The person in the lead was very handsome, but there was a black aura around his face. This black aura wasn't thick, and even an ascendant cultivator would have a hard time noticing it. However, it was very clear to Wang Lin. There were also 2 rays of sword energy in the sky. There were 2 cultivators standing on the swords. Both of them were at the foundation establishment stage, and they were opening a path for the young man on the horse. If this was all, it wouldn't be a big deal, but what caused Wang Lin to frown was that there was a chain tied to the back of the young man's horse. At the end of the chain was a person. This person's hair was unkempt and his face was dirty. It was impossible to see his face clearly, but based on his figure, he should be a man. At this moment, it was clear that he had been dragged all the way here. His clothes were torn and a large amount of blood flowed out. As he was dragged, it was as if someone had used a brush dipped in cinnabar to draw a shocking bloody line on the ground. The few of them charged forward, and as their laughter echoed in the air, the martial artists quickly followed them. The 2 cultivators in the air didn't even spare them a glance. After these people left, another group of soldiers quickly arrived. After they wiped off the blood on the ground, they continued to follow and wipe off the blood along the way. It wasn't until these people had all left that the surrounding crowd returned to normal amidst the sounds of discussion. Ah, what a sin! I wonder which blind person provoked the 16th prince this time. This time, I'm afraid we'll have to circle the capital once before we kill that person. Exactly. In our dynasty, the imperial family is the heavens. Even the celestials have become their helpers. Who would dare to provoke them? Let's not talk about this. A few months ago, it was said that the imperial advisor observed the sky and noticed that there was an ominous star in the northwest, so he slaughtered hundreds of thousands of civilians in the northwest. I heard that even now, the northwest is covered in corpses. We can't talk about this. Brother Li, let's not talk about this anymore. Be careful of the words that come out of your mouth. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. He had clearly seen that the young man in the Chinese robe had the blood of the Wang family flowing in his veins. Ta Shan, bring him to me, Wang Lin calmly said. Ta Shan didn't say anything. He turned around and disappeared. A moment later, he returned with a person in his hand. This person was the young man in the Chinese robe. At this moment, his eyes were filled with terror as he cursed, "How dare you? How dare you capture me? Which sect are you from? Do you know who I am? I'm from the Wang family." Ta Shan's expression was cold as he walked closer to Wang Lin. He threw the young man to the ground. What was happening caused the surrounding crowd, which had just dispersed, to tremble. Without the slightest hesitation, they began to disperse and look over at the scene, their eyes filled with astonishment. The young man in the Chinese robe had a ferocious expression as he got up and stared at Ta Shan. Although he was shocked, he didn't reveal any fear. He shouted, "I'm from the Wang family. You dare to hurt me? I don't care which sect you're from, you're dead." Wang Lin's expression was cold as he stared at the young man in the Chinese robe. A thick, black aura appeared on the young man's face. This black aura turned into a snake that spat out its tongue and silently roared at Ta Shan. If one hadn't reached the second step, they wouldn't have noticed this. They would only feel a cold aura erupt from the young man's body, causing their minds to tremble. At this moment, there were shouts coming from the street in the distance. The group of people who had just left came back at this moment. In front of them were two beams of sword light galloping toward them. Below them, the servants of Wulin came with murderous intent. Capture that traitor. There were a few young men on horses in the crowd that were charging over. At this moment, they all shouted ferociously. There is an assassin. Protect the prince. The two rays of sword energy charged toward Ta Shan. The two cultivators on the sword energy clenched their teeth and attacked. The two of them didn't notice anything at all, but they suddenly realized that the prince was gone. Terrified, they immediately turned around and saw Ta Shan throwing the prince to the ground. The two of them sucked in a breath of cold air. They were disciples of the Cloud Sky sect, and were assigned to protect the prince of the Wang family. If anything happened to the prince, they would be punished when they returned to the sect. At this moment, they charged out and stabbed toward Ta Shan. Chapter 895. Ta Shan's expression was indifferent as he casually waved his hand. Immediately, a gust of wind blew. The two cultivators in front of him felt their sword lights dissipate and their flying swords crumble. The two of them felt an unimaginably powerful impact. They coughed out blood and were knocked back. As for the martial artists on the ground, it was as if their bodies had hit a wall. They all coughed out blood and were knocked back. No one was spared. Ta Shan didn't kill anyone. With one wave of his hand, all of them, including the two cultivators, were only injured. When the prince saw this, he was startled, but the ferocious expression on his face became even stronger. He roared, "I'm a member of the Wang family. You dare to hurt my subordinate? You're dead for sure on planet Suzaku." Wang Lin raised his right hand and slapped the young man's face. Wang Lin didn't use any force with this slap. He only used his mortal body to slap the young man. After all, the young man wasn't a cultivator. If he used a bit more force, all of the young man's bones would have been broken. Even so, the young man's body was still thrown back. His face swelled up and all of his teeth were broken. This slap didn't just hit the young man, it also hit the black snake inside his body. The black snake was extremely strange. The moment Wang Lin's slap landed, it immediately dissipated. However, it condensed again almost instantly. This time, it left the young man's body and opened its mouth to devour Wang Lin. Aside from Ta Shan and the big-headed boy, no one else could see this. The people behind Wang Lin only felt the cold wind on their faces. I want to see who dares to use my Wang family to raise a vengeful spirit. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes, and he became angry. With his cultivation level, he could tell at a glance that the young man's soul had already been devoured and replaced by the vengeful spirit. The moment the black snake closed in, Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed forward. With this, the black snake's eyes were filled with fear. It wanted to turn around and escape, but it was too late. With a bang, the black snake's body collapsed layer by layer. In an instant, it turned into a mass of black, vengeful spirit. Wang Lin grabbed it and crushed it, turning it into a black mark. After losing the black snake, the young man's body trembled and he coughed out a large mouthful of blood. The ferocious expression on his face was no longer there and his eyes were filled with confusion. His soul had been devoured, so his eyes were dim and had lost their luster. The surroundings were completely silent, but this silence only lasted for an instant before it was replaced by screams of shock. The people in the surroundings immediately retreated in panic and left the area as fast as they could. Not long after, there was not a single person left on the street. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with coldness. When he swept the area with his divine sense, he didn't find anything strange. However, now that he was close, he was able to see some clues. With his experience and wisdom, he immediately understood that someone was using the lives of the Wang family members to raise vengeful spirits. Wang Lin had heard of this kind of spell before. It was similar to refining a flying sword. Using a person as a spirit and absorbing vengeful spirit, if there were enough vengeful spirits, their power would be no small matter. Combined with the monstrous vengeful spirit he saw after entering the city, Wang Lin could imagine that someone was controlling this place. The more vengeful spirit there was, the more powerful it would be. Filled with anger, the coldness in Wang Lin's eyes became even stronger. He waved the black rune in his hand and the rune began to fly forward. Wang Lin put his hands behind his back and followed the rune. Behind him was Ta Shan and the big-headed boy. The death of a prince in the capital city was naturally a huge matter. Not long after, rays of sword light whistled through the air from all directions of the capital city. These rays of sword energy were cultivators from the various sects in the Suzaku. Their eyes were like lightning as they charged forward. They didn't even bother talking to Wang Lin, they simply threw out all kinds of magical treasures. Wang Lin's expression was cold as he waved his sleeve. All of the surrounding magical treasures were knocked back. The cultivators on the rays of sword energy were shocked as they were knocked back by the wind. In the blink of an eye, they were sent tens of thousands of kilometers away. What kind of spell is this? That person just now looked very familiar. The expressions of the cultivators that were sent tens of thousands of kilometers away changed greatly. They were filled with panic, but none of them dared to go up. They all turned into rays of sword energy and flew back to their sections. Wang Lin's gaze was cold. At this moment, the anger in his heart was great. As he walked, he gradually closed in on the imperial city. Along the way there were countless soldiers charging at him. Wang Lin didn't want to hurt these people, so he would just wave his sleeve and send them tens of thousands of kilometers away. He got closer and closer to the imperial city. At this moment, there was a middle-aged man wearing a dragon robe sitting in the main hall of the imperial city. His expression was extremely gloomy, and beside him was a beautiful and noble woman. She was wearing a colorful dress, but her eyes were filled with black fog. There was a hint of panic in the depths of her eyes. At the same time, the countless Wang family members all wore brocade robes and gloomily stared ahead. Outside the main hall, on the square, groups of soldiers were densely packed, as if they were facing a great enemy, and a desolate killing intent filled the air. Who the hell dares to come to my great dynasty to kill people? Have you found out their sect? The middle-aged man in the dragon robe threw the inkstone in his hand and shouted. The surroundings were completely silent. The surroundings were silent. After a moment, a white-haired old Taoist hesitated for a moment before stepping forward. He clasped his hands and said, "These 3 people are seniors with extremely high cultivation bases. As for their sex, we are still investigating." The middle-aged man's expression became even more gloomy as he sneered. "It looks like my Wang family has been too quiet in Suzaku. Even some nameless people dare to come and humiliate us. Where is the imperial teacher?" After he spoke, a laugh echoed across the imperial city. "Your Majesty, don't worry, my disciples can handle this." However, in the air above the square, wisps of black chi condensed, and in an instant, they turned into 3 people. These 3 people were surrounded by black gas, but it was easy to tell that they were 2 men and 1 woman. None of them were old. After the 3 of them appeared, they didn't even look at the imperial palace. They turned into 3 strands of black gas and charged out. As Wang Lin walked forward, the coldness in his eyes became even stronger. The runes before him had already closed in on the gate of the imperial palace. Outside the gate, countless soldiers were staring at Wang Lin and company with serious expressions. Just at this moment, the 3 strands of black gas closed in. They were filled with resentment and charged at Wang Lin. Before they even arrived, bursts of pressure came from them. Countless ghostly wails and wolf howls filled the world. Wang Lin could tell at a glance that these 3 people's cultivation levels weren't high, only at the soul transformation stage. However, the power of their spells surpassed their cultivation levels and were close to the ascendant stage. These 3 people didn't have the bloodline of the Wang family descendant, only endless resentment. It was obvious that they were 3 resentful spirits that had been refined to a certain degree. Killing intent filled Wang Lin's eyes as he walked out. With 1 step, he arrived before the 3 of them. His 2 fingers formed a sword and he pointed at one of them. His speed was too fast, and in an instant, his 2 fingers landed on the person's shoulder. At this moment, the powerful origin energy of an early-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivator in Wang Lin's body surged and entered the person's body through his 2 fingers. At this moment, the person's body trembled and couldn't resist at all. His body collapsed into countless strands of black gas that were filled with terror. He wanted to escape, but it was too late. With Wang Lin's cultivation level, if he attacked in anger, not only would he destroy the resentful spirit's body, but he would also destroy the resentful spirit's foundation. Just as the resentful spirit was about to escape, another thunderous rumble echoed. In an instant, it disintegrated and died, leaving behind only endless resentment. All of this happened in a flash. In the eyes of the other 2 resentful spirits, Wang Lin had only taken 1 step and killed one of their companions with a wave of his hand. This scene caused their eyes to be filled with fear. After killing one, Wang Lin's left hand hit the void and an unimaginable shockwave suddenly erupted. It was as if a storm had formed in the sky. As it swept by, the other resentful spirit's body collapsed and was sucked into the storm. He died in an instant. After killing 2 in a row, Wang Lin turned, his eyes flashing like lightning, filled with the will of thunder. As for the last woman, rumbling sounds of thunder could be heard as the power of thunder and lightning appeared inside of her. The coldness in Wang Lin's eyes grew even stronger as he strode through the air toward the imperial city. The soldiers on the ground stared blankly at what was happening, their minds blank. As Wang Lin strode forward, he entered the imperial city and headed toward the imperial palace. Off in the distance, He could see the soldiers in the square in front of the imperial palace, as well as the descendants of the Wang clan in the main hall. Off to the side, there were many other cultivators. Their eyes were filled with killing intent, but none of them dared to make a move. They couldn't see through Wang Lin's cultivation, but they knew that they wouldn't be able to kill the imperial teacher's 3 disciples so easily. As a result, they were very wary of this person who had broken into the palace. As he walked, Wang Lin stood above the square. He stared at the people below and coldly said, "Very good, you all have done very well." His gaze swept the square. There were hundreds of Wang family members here, but not all of them. There was more or less black gas between their eyebrows, but the strange thing was that the middle-aged man wearing the dragon robe didn't have any black gas between his eyebrows. As for the woman in the colorful dress beside him, the black gas had disappeared from her eyes, and she didn't have any fluctuations of cultivation. No matter how one looked at her, she looked like a mortal. Wang Lin's voice echoed like the winter wind, causing the hearts of everyone on the ground to tremble. This was especially true for the middle-aged man wearing the dragon robe. The moment he saw Wang Lin, his body trembled and his eyes were filled with disbelief. However, his eyes were soon filled with ruthlessness and he shouted, "Royal family members, kill this person." Chapter 896. Almost at the same time as the man's voice rang out, a loud rumbling sound suddenly came from the plaza. Cracks immediately appeared on the ground as 8 old men charged out from the crack. These 8 old men gave off an ancient aura. After they appeared, they stared at Wang Lin and charged at him without hesitation. The anger in Wang Lin's eyes became even stronger. There was dense black gas coming from between the eyebrows of these 8 old men, but there was a yellow light protecting their souls. Wang Lin took a step forward and pointed with his right hand. 8 strands of black and white gas shot out toward the 8 of them. When the black and white gas got close, the 2 strands of black and white gas charged toward the spot between their eyebrows and shattered the black gas. The 8 old men's bodies trembled and their eyes became clear. The first thing they saw was the angry Wang Lin. This gaze caused the 8 of them to tremble and one of them exclaimed, "Ancestor Wang Lin." The remaining 7 people revealed excited expressions. After these words were spoken, a huge uproar was set off on the ground. The expressions of all the cultivators on the ground changed greatly from disbelief. On the other hand, the Wang family descendants all had strange expressions. Only a few of them revealed excitement. Just at this moment, the large amount of black gas coming from between the eyebrows of the 8 old men fused together to form a giant python that roared and charged at Wang Lin. This time, Ta Shan walked out and punched the air with his right fist. A heaven-shaking rumble echoed and the python immediately collapsed. Ta Shan withdrew his fist and retreated behind Wang Lin. From beginning to end, his expression was cold. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with killing intent as he raised his right hand and pressed down. A thunderous rumble came from the ground and a person flew out from the crater. This person was naked from the waist up and his long hair flowed in the wind. He stared at Wang Lin in the sky and his pupils shrank an undetectable amount. "You dare to raise vengeful spirits on a descendant of my Wang clan? You're courting death." Wang Lin's voice was extremely cold. As he spoke, he took a step forward. Lightning immediately whistled from his right hand and shot towards the man. The man's face fell. He had thought that he had hidden himself well, and had never imagined that he would be discovered. He quickly retreated. His cultivation base was far above that of the other cultivators in Suzaku. He was in the illusory stage, but at that moment, his heart trembled. As he retreated, he couldn't help but look at the woman in the colorful robe next to the man in the dragon robe. The rainbow-clothed woman's eyes were cold. When she saw Wang Lin attack the man, she snorted coldly in her heart. She raised her right hand without hesitation and was about to cast a spell. However, just at this moment, Wang Lin's footsteps immediately caused ripples to appear, and in an instant, his figure disappeared. This disappearance startled the man, but his eyes lit up and he escaped without hesitation. Ta Shan's eyes became cold and he was about to chase, but the big-headed boy was one step faster. He had a silly smile on his face as he chased after Wang Lin. As for the rainbow-clothed woman, she was also startled, but her expression changed greatly. She rushed forward, but it was too late. Wang Lin's figure appeared beside the rainbow-clothed woman. Thunder flashed in his eyes and his 2 fingers pointed forward in anger. Thunder roared and countless bolts of thunder seemed to pierce through the void and condensed at the tip of Wang Lin's finger. This finger contained the power of thunder and landed on the woman's back. The woman's body trembled and she coughed out a large mouthful of blood. 5 colored light shined from her body, and a black python appeared above her head. However, the moment the python appeared, it collapsed. The woman's face was pale. After the blow filled with thunder destroyed the python, it was about to destroy her body and origin soul. However, just at this moment, a phoenix cry came from her head. A 5-colored phoenix appeared and blocked Wang Lin's thunder for her. As she retreated, she was about to use a spell, but Wang Lin was one step faster. He appeared next to her once more and a finger filled with thunder descended. As the thunder rumbled, the woman coughed out blood once more. The phoenix above her head trembled and quickly retreated. However, her speed couldn't compare to Wang Lin's. In a flash, Wang Lin moved like a ghost and pointed out 4 times. The woman's body trembled. The continuous attacks had seriously injured her, and she couldn't fight back at all. When the last finger landed, the phoenix above her head let out a cry and collapsed. The woman's eyes were filled with panic and she shouted, "I'm one of the 7 phoenixes of planet Fengluan, you dare to kill me?" However, Wang Lin didn't stop. In a flash, he arrived behind the woman. His eyes were filled with killing intent as his 2 fingers turned into black and white gas and landed on the woman's right shoulder. The black and white gas rushed in and the woman's body trembled. There was a bang and her body collapsed. Her origin soul was about to escape, but it was locked down by the black and white gas and pulled toward Wang Lin. Without hesitation, Wang Lin's right hand pressed down on the woman's origin soul and the soul search spell was activated. As the woman let out a miserable scream, memories were searched by Wang Lin in a domineering manner. The more he searched, the more gloomy Wang Lin's expression became. In the end, his eyes became cold and his right hand mercilessly squeezed. The woman's origin soul collapsed into origin energy and was swallowed by Wang Lin. He had long since seen that there was something wrong with this woman. Although she was doing her best to hide her cultivation, it was clear to Wang Lin that she was at the corporeal yang stage. If it weren't for the phoenix protecting her, one strike of thunder would have been enough to kill her. If it weren't for the fact that there were too many Wang family members around her, and that the black gas between their eyebrows was connected to the woman's right hand, Wang Lin could tell that their lives were in the hands of this woman. If it weren't for the fact that there were too many Wang family members around her, and that the black gas between their eyebrows was connected to the woman's right hand, then their lives would have been in her hands. Otherwise, as soon as Wang Lin appeared, he would have directly killed the woman. There would have been no need to force out the person hiding in the depths of the earth. After distracting the woman, he would have taken the opportunity to attack. As for the rest, the black fog between their eyebrows dissipated and their eyes became clear again. They looked at Wang Lin with excitement in their eyes and knelt down with shame. One of the things the Wang family members were taught since they were young was to look at the portrait of the family ancestor. Wang Lin's appearance had been imprinted into their minds, so now that their minds were clear, they naturally recognized Wang Lin at a glance. They were no strangers to Wang Lin. The reason so many cultivators were helping the Wang family was because of Wang Lin. "Ancestor, we were wrong." The 8 old men all knelt on the ground. Wang Lin's gaze fell on the hall. He looked at the middle-aged man in the dragon robe who was also kneeling on the ground and coldly said, "You were wrong. You can't even tell if he is a member of the Wang family or not." The middle-aged man's expression changed greatly. Wang Lin let out a cold harumph that echoed like thunder, knocking the middle-aged man unconscious. Wang Lin's words caused the members of the Wang family to be startled. Their expressions became gloomy as they stared at the middle-aged man who had passed out. After letting out a sigh, Wang Lin clasped his hands toward the surrounding cultivators and said, "Fellow cultivators, thank you for taking care of the Wang family over the years." The cultivators all bowed respectfully. After explaining the situation, Wang Lin scanned the city with his divine sense. After making sure there were no other people from planet Fengluan, he said to one of the Wang family descendants kneeling on the ground, "Take care of this among yourselves. I'll be back in a few days." Wang Lin's eyes flickered coldly. He had learned a lot from the memories of the woman from planet Fengluan, so he needed to take care of it. "Planet Fengluan, Serene, you dare to target a descendant of my Wang family. Don't blame me for being ruthless." Wang Lin's eyes were filled with murderous intent. This time, he was really angry. From the memories of the woman from planet Fengluan, Wang Lin knew that she was indeed one of the 7 phoenixes of planet Fengluan, but at the same time, she was also a descendant of Serene. She was the first elder that Serene had sent to Suzaku. Her status was similar to Sun Tai's, but her cultivation was much higher. Serene. Wang Lin had heard a lot of secrets from Sun Tai when his lifespan came to an end. For example, collecting resentment and raising vengeful spirits was one of the tasks assigned to each of the branches of Serene. From the memories of the woman from planet Fengluan, Wang Lin knew that almost every city in the Great Dynasty had people from Serene. They were like a giant net that tightly surrounded the Great Dynasty. They constantly gathered resentment and raised vengeful spirit. At this moment, what Wang Lin needed to do was kill all these people and uproot the Serene of Suzaku. In fact, even without the matter of the descendant of the Wang family, Wang Lin was prepared to go to Serene. The giant corpse of the giant demon clan and the weak divine sense under Serene were things that tempted him. He just didn't know if the body of the giant demon clan was still there after hundreds of years. In the distance, the big-headed boy returned with a person in his hand. He had a silly smile on his face as he looked at Wang Lin. "Kill him. Give me the origin soul." Wang Lin's expression was cold as he stepped into the sky. Ta Shan followed closely behind. The big-headed boy licked his lips and squeezed with his right hand. The person in his hand immediately collapsed and the origin soul flew toward Wang Lin. A drastic change occurred in Suzaku with the return of Wang Lin. Brother from the same city, platinum author Katsuji's latest work, Super Medic. Book number 1683254. Katsuji is a good brother. Everyone go and collect it. Chapter 897. The closest cities to the dynasty were the 5 subcities of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. They surrounded the capital, and a large amount of soldiers were stationed there. With Wang Lin's speed, he arrived at Metal City in an instant. This city was a bit smaller than the capital, but it was still luxurious. Although the city looked prosperous, this prosperity made the resentment even stronger. This resentment condensed in the air like a demonic flame. It continued to rise and drift. As he closed in on the city, Wang Lin's divine sense locked onto the area. As he scanned it inch by inch, there was a flash of coldness in his eyes, and he let out a cold snort. With that cold snort, loud banging sounds came from 3 different places in the city. The advisor named Sun, who was meditating in the city lord's mansion, immediately trembled. His entire body collapsed and turned into a large amount of flesh and blood that splattered everywhere. The other 2 places were the same. Wang Lin's expression was cold as he turned around and left. His speed was too fast. He didn't give the corpse sect people hiding in the cities any chance at all. His divine sense spread out and the sound of bodies collapsing came from the wood, water, fire, and earth cities. After doing all of this, Wang Lin didn't stop and continued to move forward. His divine sense spread out across all of the cities in the Great Tang Dynasty. He saw the corpse sect disciples flying out of the cities in panic to escape. However, just as they flew out, a cold snort echoed in their ears. Their bodies trembled violently and their bodies were crushed by the divine sense of a nirvana scryer cultivator. Popping sounds echoed across the dynasty. The serene disciples coughed out blood and their bodies collapsed. Even their origin souls collapsed into large amounts of spiritual energy that entered the earth to nourish Rosefinch. The sudden scene caused the people in the great dynasty to panic. They had no idea what was going on, so they kept making guesses about what was going on. His divine sense swept across all the cities. As the serene disciples died one by one, Wang Lin's expression became even more gloomy. From the memories of the woman from planet Fengluan, he knew that there were many serene disciples collecting resentment in the dynasty. Almost every city had an altar to raise resentment. Suzaku wasn't the only one doing this. All the serene sects in the Alliance star system were collecting resentment. Although the woman from planet Fengluan was also the head elder, with Suzaku's status, she normally wouldn't be sent here. However, the serene headquarters in the Alliance star system had appointed a corporeal yang cultivator to be the head elder, so the position fell to her. Wang Lin didn't care about any of this. What really made him feel strange was that when this woman came to Suzaku, she had received a secret order from the serene headquarters in the Alliance star system. No matter how much Wang Lin searched through the woman's memories, he couldn't find any trace of this secret order. This could only mean one thing. The spell that sent this secret order was beyond Wang Lin's cultivation level, so he couldn't find it. However, through some clues, Wang Lin found some clues. First of all, with this woman's identity and cultivation level, she definitely wouldn't become a mortal's concubine. Since that was the case, why was she in the Imperial City? Even if someone wanted to control her, with her cultivation level, there were too many ways to do so. There was no need for her to personally go to the Imperial City. Also, this woman hadn't been on Suzaku for long, less than 100 years, and she had entered the Imperial City 10 years ago. In this woman's memories, the scene of her coming to the Imperial City 10 years ago was completely blank, as if it had been dug out by someone. She didn't know the reason at all, but through her other memories, Wang Lin vaguely felt that the reason she went to the Imperial City was to hide from something. In these past 10 years, this woman had been very careful in the Imperial City, hiding her cultivation level. 10 years ago, what exactly happened to this girl that caused her to flee to the Imperial City, the place with the most mortals, in order to hide? Moreover, if she hid in the Imperial City, how could she not be discovered? Wang Lin frowned. After pondering for a bit, he no longer thought about this matter. He spread out his divine sense and no longer locked onto the city. Instead, he searched every cultivation country on Suzaku for the serene sect. The serene sect was a very large organization. Forget the outer planets, just on Suzaku, Wang Lin knew that there were countless branches of the serene sect in almost every cultivation country. However, at this moment, through the memories of the woman from planet Fengluan, Wang Lin knew that after she arrived, the serene sect was reorganized and gathered in one place. This became the serene sect's headquarters on Suzaku. What was interesting was that this new headquarters was in the country of Zhao, where the serene sect was located. After cleaning up the serene sect's various cities, Wang Lin expressionlessly headed toward the serene sect's headquarters in Zhao. He moved very fast, and it didn't take long for him to arrive at the serene sect in Zhao. Wang Lin hadn't been here for hundreds of years. Now that he was back, he stared at the plain before him. His eyes gradually became cold and he calmly said, "Interesting, there are a lot more restrictions here. Ta Shan, open this place for me." Wang Lin's voice was calm. Ta Shan's expression was cold as he took a few steps forward. He didn't even look at the swamp below him as he clenched his right fist and threw a punch. There was a heaven-shattering bang, and the entire earth began to tremble violently. The swamp on the plain was lifted off the ground and turned into muddy water that shot into the sky. At this moment, It was as if the entire ground had been lifted up by someone. Countless restrictions flashed, but while these restrictions could be fatal to ascendant cultivators, they were useless against Ta Shan. With one punch, the light from the restrictions collapsed, turning into motes of light that dissipated. The ground trembled, and a huge gully opened up. Within the gully was a secret passage. Wang Lin stepped forward into the secret passage at a moderate pace. Ta Shan followed behind him. As for the big-headed boy, he looked around with interest and also followed behind Wang Lin. While walking down this secret passage, Wang Lin felt very emotional. He had come here twice hundreds of years ago, and each time, he had to be very careful. However, now that he was walking here again, it was completely different. As he walked, Wang Lin's divine sense spread out and sealed off all directions. The reason he came here was to find trouble with the serene. Whether it was in the past or now, Wang Lin didn't have a good impression of the serene, not to mention the fact that the serene dared to use a descendant of the Wang family as a vengeful spirit. Although Wang Lin didn't have any special feelings toward these descendants that were separated by more than 10 generations, they still had the Wang family's bloodline. Being bullied like this really made him angry. As he walked, all the cultivators he saw with his divine sense immediately collapsed and died. There were a lot of serene cultivators here, and all of them had gloomy expressions. They were about to escape, but with Wang Lin's divine sense sealing them, they couldn't escape at all. While he was walking, a ray of sword energy suddenly shot toward Wang Lin from the tunnel ahead. This sword energy contained a powerful aura. This person's cultivation level was clearly at the ascendant stage. As he charged forward, a whistling sound echoed through the narrow tunnel. Wang Lin's expression was cold as he casually pointed forward. The origin energy in his body surged and ripples appeared in the space before him. These ripples immediately caused the incoming sword energy to collapse. A muffled groan came out, but the ripples from Wang Lin's fingers spread out. Popping sounds echoed, but not only did the person who sneak attacked not retreat, he charged out even faster. His hands formed a seal and he charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin had already seen the appearance of the person who sneak attacked him. This person was very thin, like a mummy. There were countless runes drawn on his body, and he gave off a foul smell. His eyes were dim, as if he had lost his mind. Looking at this person, Wang Lin found a hint of familiarity. As he pondered, the mummy quickly closed in on Wang Lin. Wang Lin let out a sigh and kicked forward with his right foot. There was a sonic boom as his foot landed on the mummy's body. The mummy's body trembled and its legs began to rapidly collapse. This collapse spread until the mummy's entire body turned into dust. At the moment it dissipated, its eyes became clear for a moment. It looked at Wang Lin in a daze, but the next moment, its body dissipated. I didn't expect Yi Zizai to become someone else's corpse puppet. Wang Lin let out a sigh and walked forward. He wasn't fast, and there were many sneak attackers ahead. However, all of them collapsed in an instant. These sneak attackers were all corpse puppets. Following the tunnel, Wang Lin arrived at the serene headquarters. The moment he arrived, Wang Lin's eyes became cold as he looked ahead. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the cave and extend infinitely. His gaze landed on the 8 transfer arrays in the distance. At this moment, there were countless serene cultivators standing on the 8 transfer arrays. As the transfer arrays activated, their figures were slowly disappearing. "I can't escape," Wang Lin calmly muttered to himself. He spread out his divine sense and scanned the 8 transfer arrays. Suddenly, the transfer arrays began to collapse. In just an instant, 3 of the transfer arrays collapsed. The corpse sect disciples that were trying to escape were all sucked into the spatial rift and disappeared. At the same time, the other 5 transfer arrays also collapsed. In the end, not a single serene disciple was able to escape. If a Nirvana Scryer cultivator who had stepped into the second step wanted to destroy a sect like this, there was no need for blood. Just a thought from a Nirvana Scryer cultivator could cause the sect to collapse. This was something not even illusory Yin or corporeal Yang cultivators could do. After all, illusory Yin and corporeal Yang cultivators were only transitional. Nirvana Scryer was the true second step. Tonight at 7:30 p.m., the Earroot Three Rivers interview will be held. Fellow cultivators who have time, come and gather. Chapter 898. At this moment, the entire Serene headquarters was completely silent. This silence was a bit terrifying. Only the rustling sound of footsteps could be heard, causing this place to be shrouded in a gloomy aura. Wang Lin's feet moved forward as he passed through cave after cave. His expression was calm as he followed the route from his memory and gradually arrived at the depths of Serene. Looking at the sealed wall, Wang Lin couldn't see anything wrong with it. He remembered that there used to be a cave here, and inside it was where he cultivated the underworld ascension method. Without stopping, Wang Lin walked toward the wall. The moment he got close, cracks appeared on the wall. The moment Wang Lin got close, the cracks spread and the wall collapsed. It was as if there was a strange force pushing forward. As popping sounds echoed, it was as if there was no barrier that could stop Wang Lin. As he moved forward, the wall collapsed layer by layer and automatically opened up a passage. If a cultivator were to see this strange scene, they would definitely be shocked. Even if it was a cultivator at the Yin and Yang illusory stage, it would be difficult for them to accomplish this. Only those who had truly reached the second step, the Nirvana Scryer stage, and touched the edge of law could do this so easily. As he moved forward, Wang Lin arrived at the place where he cultivated. He looked around and felt a bit melancholy. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin walked forward. There were countless small holes on the wall before him that emitted cold energy. However, this cold energy was a lot weaker than before. As he moved forward, the walls collapsed one by one, but Wang Lin didn't stop at all. It didn't take long for him to arrive at the deepest part of Serene. This place was a huge underground cave. A coffin thousands of feet wide silently floated in the air. "Save me!" A weak voice suddenly echoed the moment Wang Lin entered. Wang Lin was familiar with this voice. However, the instant the voice rang out, it suddenly stopped. A long time later, the voice resounded once more. However, this time around, there was a trace of shock in it. You're that cultivator from back then." The voice was filled with disbelief. Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he walked toward the coffin. Although the coffin looked ordinary, it was covered in countless restrictions. These restrictions weren't simple, and they gave off a powerful pressure. Back then, with Wang Lin's cultivation level, he was shocked when he got close to this place, but he didn't know what the problem was. However, now Wang Lin's cultivation level was enough for him to see that all of this was due to the restrictions on the coffin. Impossible! How could you have this kind of cultivation level in just a few hundred years? This. The weak voice was filled with shock. It was clear that he recognized Wang Lin, and it was because he recognized him that he was so shocked. He clearly remembered that this cultivator had come here twice before. The first time, he was only at the foundation establishment stage, so he didn't care. A foundation establishment cultivator couldn't be of any help to him. Hundreds of years later, this cultivator came a second time. At that time, he was close to the soul transformation stage. He came here to take his blood, but when he asked for help, the little cultivator completely ignored him. In order to stall for time, he even offered to become the little cultivator's mount. However, in the end, because the little cultivator was too cautious, he failed to escape. He had always been angry about this, but there was nothing he could do. Now that this cultivator had come a third time, his mind was shaken and he was shocked. He couldn't see through this person's cultivation level. Forget about this person, he couldn't even see through the two cultivators that looked like servants. He could only feel an aura that shook his mind from the three of them. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he carefully looked at the coffin. He raised his right hand and casually pointed at the coffin. His finger landed on the coffin and a thunderous rumble echoed. Cracks spread like crazy from where Wang Lin's finger landed. In almost an instant, the cracks covered the entire coffin. This scene was very easy for Wang Lin, but when the giant demon clan ancestor saw it, he was terrified. The moment Wang Lin raised his finger, the coffin collapsed and a large amount of white fog came out. Inside the white mist was an incomparably large naked male corpse floating in the air. The skin on his body was ashen, and it didn't have the rough cracks of the ancient gods. His skin was as smooth as a mirror. There was a purplish-green plant growing all over the corpse. These plants were constantly wriggling, and as they wriggled, the giant's body would visibly shrink. However, it would soon return to normal. As this cycle repeated itself, a white, cold mist would rapidly spread out from the plant. There was a faint axe mark between the giant's eyebrows that would occasionally flash. "Save me! Say! Senior, save me! I, Lei Ji, am willing to become Senior's mount. Please help me, Senior." The giant's divine sense weakly sent out a message. It no longer had any tricks like last time and was now filled with pleading. Wang Lin looked at the purplish-green things wrapped around Lei Ji's body. He knew that the roots of these things had already grown into this person's body. After a few hundred years, this person's vitality would be completely sucked out and he would become a corpse. Wang Lin calmly asked, "How many members of your giant demon clan have been captured by Serene?" "Senior, I'm the only one on the Suzaku, but in the Alliance star system, I know that a large portion of the giant demon clan members have been captured by Serene. Serene has his eyes on my giant demon clan's body. However, if the giant demon clan's body is normally possessed, their bloodline ability will dissipate. Serene's goal is to possess the body while retaining their bloodline ability. The purplish-green vine on my body is a strange plant that Serene found. It can consume my vitality but not affect my bloodline ability. This way they can perfectly possess my body." If Wang Lin's cultivation wasn't as strong as it was now, Lei Ji wouldn't have told him the truth so easily. However, he didn't hesitate to say it. In the cultivation world, strength determined everything. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he looked at Lei Ji. He casually reached out with his right hand and Lei Ji's body trembled. The purplish-green vines on his body began to move violently. In almost an instant, the vines were pulled out one by one. As they moved, they quickly shrank and a powerful pressure spread out. Wang Lin frowned as he looked at the purplish-green vines. As the vines shrank, they let out sharp howls. As the vines were pulled out one by one, a ferocious plant hundreds of feet wide appeared in the air. There was a flower on the head of the plant, but as the flower opened, rows of thorns appeared and a large amount of mucus flowed out. The vines spread out like the plant's tentacles. Some of them were connected to Lei Ji and the other swayed. A crack also appeared at the tip of the vine, and when it opened, there were also sharp thorns inside. A sharp howl echoed and turned into a storm that charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was cold. This strange plant also had a divine sense. This thing was not as simple as a plant. Lei Ji's divine sense became even weaker, but he still struggled to speak. "Senior, there is the divine sense of Serene's Vice Palace Lord inside this purple vine. My body was prepared for this Vice Palace Lord. If Senior didn't come after a few hundred years, when all my vitality is absorbed, he would be able to take over my body without any resistance." When Wang Lin heard this, it was as if a bolt of lightning had flashed across his mind, and he understood. Serene has always sold his body. In this world, the best body is naturally that of an ancient god. However, there are simply too few ancient god bodies, so Serene took a step back and set his sights on the giant demon clan. With this kind of body and a cultivator's spells, this kind of power is not something an ordinary cultivator can resist. If a Nirvana Scryer cultivator has this kind of powerful body, his spells won't be damaged, and he also has his own bloodline. Even I wouldn't be able to fight him unless I fuse with my original body. Wang Lin's expression became gloomy. Serene had too many secrets. He didn't know if the possession of the giant demon clan's body was important to Serene. No matter what, through this, the mysterious veil of Serene had been lifted a bit by Wang Lin. As the army of Luo Tian cultivators closed in, Wang Lin believed that all of Serene's secrets would be revealed. With a sharp roar, the demonic plant charged in. Its tentacles wrapped around Wang Lin like crazy in an attempt to tear Wang Lin apart. Wang Lin sneered as he opened his mouth and spat out the celestial sealing stamp. It immediately enlarged and shined brightly. Hundreds of thousands of golden runes flew out and sealed the plant. The celestial sealing stamp smashed down, creating a storm as it smashed down on the plant. Wang Lin raised his right hand, and his eyes contained the will of thunder. Rays of thunder appeared from the void and gathered in Wang Lin's right hand. He controlled the power of thunder in the world and could use it for himself. There was a flash of lightning and a purple ball of lightning appeared in Wang Lin's right hand. With a push, the ball of lightning immediately flew out and headed straight for the plant. At this moment, countless golden runes covered the entire body of the giant plant. When the celestial sealing stamp landed, a thunderous bang echoed. This bang shook the world, and large amounts of cracks appeared in the cave. Countless stones fell and kicked up a large amount of dust. The instant the celestial sealing stamp descended, the ball of lightning closed in. Loud rumbling sounds echoed once more and waves of angry roars came from within the plant. There were many parts of the plant that were damaged, and as the lightning moved, mucus splattered everywhere. Lei Ji was thrown away by the plant and fell to the ground. Who was it that awakened me from my slumber? You will pay the price with your life. A gloomy voice suddenly came from the plant. The target was still 40,000 vote. Brothers, keep it up. Don't give it to anyone else, just give it all to me. Chapter 901. On planet Suzaku, in the imperial city of the Wang family, all the members of the Wang family had gathered. They knelt down on the ground in a square, and their faces were filled with excitement and fear. It was completely silent. In front of them was an ancestral hall built in the imperial city. Inside the ancestral hall, there were many memorial tablets. This ancestral hall was not built in a luxurious manner, it was simple and unadorned. Wang Lin stood inside the temple and looked at the unfamiliar names. Finally, at the top, he saw a memorial tablet with the words, Ancestor Wang Zhua's Spirit. Wang Lin silently pondered. Scenes of Wang Zhua from back then appeared before his eyes. Now that he had returned, they were separated forever. Wang Zhua did fulfill his promise to Wang Lin. He allowed Wang Lin to cultivate in peace while he protected the descendants of the Wang family until his lifespan came to an end. Wang Lin let out a sigh. This time, he felt very unfamiliar with Suzaku. Even though he was among the descendants of the Wang family, he couldn't find any familial feelings. There was only melancholy and a faint sense of sadness in his heart. For the first time, he felt the vicissitudes of time, like a merciless river of ice flowing around him, washing away all of the beautiful memories of the past. Outside the ancestral hall, the Wang clan descendants didn't dare to breathe loudly. Their hearts raced as they cautiously looked up at the patriarch, who was both foreign and yet familiar at the same time. At the front of the Wang family members were the 8 elders. The 8 of them were also kneeling on the ground and silently looking at Wang Lin. They could vaguely feel the vicissitudes and sadness coming from Wang Lin. Wang Lin's gaze moved down the memorial tablets and landed on one of them. There was a line of words on it, Ancestor Wang Yu's Spirit. Wang Lin vaguely had an impression of the name Wang Yu. Back then, during the war between the Forsaken Immortal Clan and the Rosefinch country, many children were captured on Suzaku. One of them was Wang Yu. That kid's lifespan is also coming to an end. Wang Lin's aura of ancientness grew even stronger. There was an extremely complicated feeling in his heart. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of years had passed. Looking back, the world had changed, and the people had changed. Even if he wanted to find an old friend, it would be very difficult. After a moment of silence, Wang Lin turned and walked out of the ancestral hall. He looked at the other members of the Wang clan kneeling on the ground. Although they all had blood in them, Wang Lin didn't feel like they were family. All of you behave yourselves. From now on, there will be no more cultivators involved in the affairs of the mortal world. As for this great dynasty, if you are talented and bold, you can go against the trend and protect the 1,000-year foundation. If they were all muddle-headed and lawless people, then this riches and honor was not worth it. Although there was a reason for what happened and you were all affected by the resentment, I can see that this mortal dynasty is full of sadness. If all of this is because of my Wang clan, then all of you can just be commoners. After settling the karma of the Wang clan's descendants, Wang Lin coldly looked at them before waving his sleeves and leaving. Ta Shan and the big-headed boy followed closely behind. The 30-foot-tall man, Lei Ji, also followed. After Wang Lin left, the square was completely silent. After a long time, the 8 elders stood up with gloomy expressions and viciously looked at the surrounding clan members. One of them coldly said, "We have angered the ancestor, so we are in the wrong. From today onward, we will re-establish the clan rules. Anyone who violates them will be killed." Wang Lin walked through the world. After dealing with the matters of his descendants, the melancholy in his heart didn't lessen. He looked at the sky and walked toward the cloud sky sect. As he walked, Wang Lin's expression changed, and he looked into the distance. Before him was a centipede with 1,000 feet. It was moving its body and moving quickly. There were several cultivators standing on the back of the centipede. One of them had the air of a celestial, wore a yellow robe, and had a long sword on his back. A cool breeze blew by, causing this person's clothes to flutter, making him look very elegant. Yellow Dragon Sect Master. The moment Wang Lin saw this person, his eyes narrowed and shined brightly. The image he saw in the demon spirit land appeared in his mind. The centipede moved very fast and disappeared over the horizon in the blink of an eye. However, Wang Lin could clearly feel a gaze coming from the back of the centipede and looking at him. "Little fellow, not bad." At the moment the gaze landed on him, a chuckle entered Wang Lin's ears. The chuckle gradually disappeared until it disappeared without a trace. Wang Lin frowned as he looked at where the centipede disappeared. After pondering a bit, he moved toward the cloud sky sect. This matter was very strange, so Wang Lin didn't want to act rashly. Inside the cloud sky sect, Tai Yen was still sitting in the lotus position, waiting for Wang Lin. He knew that Wang Lin would definitely come here. He didn't have much time left. His cultivation had regressed to the late stage of soul formation and was unable to break through to the soul transformation stage. He had slowly consumed all of his lifespan. Originally, with his talent and what Wang Lin had taught him, this situation wouldn't have happened. However, 100 years ago, there was an accident, and this accident was something he was willing to accept. On this day, a person slowly walked out from the void before Tai Yen. Wang Lin was standing in the cloud sky sect. Looking at the familiar scene, his gaze finally fell on Tai Yen. At this moment, Tai Yen stood up. His face was filled with excitement as he looked at Wang Lin. He took a deep breath and respectfully said, "Tai Yen greets benefactor." Wang Lin calmly asked, "Where is Zhou?" Tai Yen revealed a complicated expression. After pondering for a bit, he bitterly smiled and said, "That child, Zhou, left Suzaku 100 years ago." Wang Lin looked at the sky and his melancholy became even stronger. After a long time, he let out a sigh. He looked at Tai Yen and said, "This is the reason your lifespan ended and your cultivation regressed?" Tai Yen pondered and nodded. With Zhou-Ru's cultivation, it was impossible for her to leave Suzaku. In order to help her, Tai Yen used his own lifespan as the price, along with most of the celestial jades he could get, and with the help of Rosefinch's son, Zhou Wutai, Zhou-Ru's cultivation barely reached the soul transformation stage. Nonsense. Wang Lin frowned. He looked at Tai Yan, but didn't say anything. He slapped his bag of holding, causing a vast amount of celestial jades to fly out. As they floated in the air, Wang Lin's right hand made a grasping motion. Popping sounds could be heard as the vast amount of celestial jades collapsed, transforming into boundless celestial qi that rapidly gathered in Wang Lin's right hand. It formed into a flocculent sphere that pulsed with celestial qi. Holding the immortal sphere in his hand, he pushed it toward Tai Yan. The sphere fused into Tai Yan's body, causing him to tremble as if a flame were burning inside of him. He pulled out a large amount of celestial jades from his bag of holding, which piled up into a small mountain in the square. Then Wang Lin turned and left. Your cultivation level regressed because of Zhou Ru. That is the cause, and me helping you recover your cultivation is the effect. As for these celestial jades, consider them my thanks for taking care of my Wang family's descendant. From now on, don't worry about the Wang family. Go cultivate in peace. Tai Yan's body trembled violently. His cultivation quickly recovered as the celestial spiritual energy filled his body. He looked at Wang Lin's disappearing figure and nodded. 9 rays of light pierced through the sky and landed before Tai Yan. They were 9 long swords. Bursts of sword energy came from the swords and formed a storm that swept across the sky. I'll gift this sword to you. Wang Lin's voice seemed to come from far away and drifted across the void. After completing the karma of the Cloud Sky sect, Wang Lin walked through the sky. The yin and yang fishes appeared above his head and slowly rotated. The karma of his descendant and the Cloud Sky sect had been cut. His karma domain suddenly changed and he gained a deeper understanding of it. In the second step of cultivation, understanding one's domain is the most important. The karma domain is the karma domain. Everything that has a cause must have an effect. Only by creating a cycle of karma can one be complete. Only by completing it countless times can one truly form their own karma. I didn't think that returning to Suzaku would result in me fusing with the Tao of karma. Wang Lin let out a sigh. He closed his eyes and his divine sense spread out. In an instant, his divine sense covered all of Suzaku. The Tao of karma. Everyone that has helped me in the past must repay me. Everyone that has made mistakes in the past must pay back their karma. While pondering, Wang Lin's divine sense spread out like a storm across Suzaku. In the end, Wang Lin's divine sense was everywhere in Suzaku. Suzaku, the rank 5 cultivation country of Zhao, the He-Huan sect. A beautiful woman was sitting in the lotus position in the back mountain of the He-Huan sect, cultivating. The place she was cultivating in was a special place for the disciples of the He-Huan sect. The spiritual energy here was several times stronger than outside. While she was cultivating, a chuckle came from outside the cave. Junior apprentice Sister Zhang, don't forget the promise from a month ago. I'll let you cultivate in my cave for a month, and you'll be my cultivation partner for 3 days. There are 4 more days until it's a full month. The voice was filled with frivolity. After the chuckle ended, it gradually disappeared. The woman opened her eyes and let out a sigh. As an outer disciple of the He-Huan sect, if she wanted to reach the 9th layer, the spiritual energy outside wouldn't be enough. She could only break through here. My family's genealogy has an ancestor named Zhang Hu. He was also a cultivator and joined the Hengyu sect 1,000 years ago. Unfortunately, after 1,000 years of good fortune, I can only become an outer disciple of the He-Huan sect. With a hint of bitterness, the woman was about to close her eyes and continue cultivating when she suddenly looked ahead and her eyes were filled with shock. A white-robed young man had silently appeared before her. The young man's appearance was ordinary, but there was an indescribable aura about him. Wang Lin calmly looked at the woman before him. He slapped his bag of holding and spirit stones and celestial jades flew out. There was even a flying sword among them. I have a relationship with your ancestor. What happened back then is what happened today. He let out a melancholy sigh and left the dumbfounded woman staring at him. Zhang, who was already dead. With Wang Lin's cultivation level, when he scanned the woman with his divine sense, he found a trace of Zhang whose bloodline. Rank 4 cultivation country of Hofun, inside the war god's temple, a very beautiful woman was sitting in the lotus position. She was at the late stage of soul formation, and there weren't many celestial jades around her. It was obvious she was preparing to break through to the soul transformation stage. There was another person sitting before her. This person was a young man. Although he looked young, he gave off an ancient aura. His cultivation level was also at the late stage of soul formation. He looked at the woman before him and let out a sigh. Junior apprentice Sister Zhou, we don't have enough celestial jades left for the two of us to absorb at the same time. You should do it this time. If you can reach the soul transformation stage, then our country of Hofun will be able to advance. The woman pondered. A moment later, she looked at the man before her and softly said, Senior apprentice Brother Zhou, if I can reach the soul transformation stage, then the two of us can become cultivation partners. As she said this, she let out a sigh. For some reason, the figure of a person from back then appeared in her mind. The man bitterly smiled and shook his head. I don't have much lifespan left. You don't have to do this. I'm willing to do this. Besides, I heard, he has already returned to Suzaku. As the two of them silently pondered, a person suddenly appeared in the main hall. Yang Xiong, Zhozihong, how have you been? A voice filled with melancholy echoed. The man and woman's bodies trembled, and they immediately looked over. The white-robed Wang Lin looked at the two familiar people before him. Their appearances hadn't changed at all. This was due to the spirit liquid he had given them back in the foreign battleground. Wang Lin smiled as he looked at the two of them. He didn't say much and slapped his bag of holding. A large amount of celestial jades appeared and filled the hall. These celestial jades are Wang's gift to the two of you for being able to tie the knot. Wang Lin clasped his hands. His words were sincere. After pondering for a bit, he took out some more pills, placed them down, and then left. Rank 5 cultivation country, in the giant demon clan. Qi, whose appearance hadn't changed much, but he looked even more ancient. The lifespan of the giant demon clan was different from that of cultivators. The current him had already become the head of the giant demon clan. His cultivation had reached the late stage of soul transformation and was only one step away from the ascendant stage. Although this was the case, with his powerful body and the few spells he had awakened, he would even dare to battle an ascendant cultivator. In these hundreds of years, Qi, who had become even more stable and occupied a certain position in Suzaku. Their giant demon clan had become the backbone of Suzaku. However, the passage of time couldn't wash away the melancholy in Qi, whose heart for a friend. With his status, he naturally knew about Wang Lin's return to Suzaku. He even saw the battle between Wang Lin and the big-headed boy through his divine sense, and his heart was very complicated. On this day, while he was cultivating, he suddenly opened his eyes and his body trembled. Before him, Wang Lin's figure that seemed to be an eternal existence was looking at him. Brother Qi, who long time no see. Sing Nyo. Qi, who bitterly looked at Wang Lin and couldn't say anything for a long time. There's no need to mention the matters of the past. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and a large amount of celestial jades flew out and piled up like a mountain. At the same time, he took out a small bottle that contained Lei Ji's blood. These celestial jades will help you reach the ascendant stage. This small bottle contains the blood of your giant demon clan ancestor. It will help you increase the power of your bloodline. Qi Hu, goodbye. Wang Lin let out a sigh and left. Qi Hu stared at where Wang Lin disappeared. The complicated expression in his eyes became even stronger. In the Sea of Devils, in a place filled with bones, an old man was cultivating. His cultivation had reached the late stage of soul formation, and as he cultivated, he absorbed a large amount of energy. His face revealed a painful expression. The veins on his face swelled and black lines appeared. As he continued to absorb the energy, the black lines were gradually suppressed. After a long time, he let out a long breath. His face was filled with exhaustion and his body was soaked in sweat. Ancestor Qi Shui, if I, Li Qiqing, don't get my revenge, then I'm not a human. His face was ferocious and contained an unimaginable amount of hatred. This hatred was monstrous. There was a faint blue mark 1,000 feet away from his body. It seemed this person's cultivation had attracted the attention of the outside world, as several demonic beasts from the Sea of Devils quickly arrived. The moment these demonic beasts touched the blue mark, they let out miserable screams. Their bodies rapidly withered. Just at this moment, the old man's eyes became cold and he charged out. In the blink of an eye, he arrived next to one of the demonic beasts. His hands tore the beast apart and he pounced on it. He bit the beast's neck and sucked. This caused the demonic beast's body to rapidly wither. In just a moment, it turned into a dried-up corpse. The old man's body flickered and he closed in on another beast. He did this again and again, and before long, all of the demonic beasts were sucked dry. The old man's face was slightly red as he took a deep breath and returned to where he was cultivating. He looked at the Sea of Devils in the distance and his eyes were filled with hatred. Ancestor Qi Shui, if it wasn't for you hunting my little sister back then, how could she have met that Wang Lin? Li Qiqing was Li Muwen's brother and Li Muwen's only relative in this world. Ancestor Qi Shui was the cultivator who hunted Li Muwen back then. Li Qiqing's hatred for this person was very strong, so he did everything he could to find out that Ancestor Qi Shui was hiding in the Sea of Devils. Originally, he wanted to get revenge, but his cultivation level was too low and he was implanted with a blood mark. Now, his life was worse than death, but the hatred in his heart became even stronger. A cold light flashed in Li Qiqing's eyes and he took a deep breath. He knew that every time he activated the blood marks, Ancestor Scarlet Blood would know his location. Just as he was about to leave this place, his pupils shrank and all the hairs on his body stood up as he stared straight ahead. He saw Wang Lin's figure walk out a few dozen feet from him. Wang Lin looked at the old man before him with a complicated expression. Li Qiqing stared at Wang Lin. After a long time, his body trembled and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He took a few steps back and shouted, "Who the hell are you?" He had seen Wang Lin a long time ago, and he had seen Wang Lin's statue in the past few hundred years, so how could he not recognize him? However, now that he saw Wang Lin, his mind trembled. He didn't know that Wang Lin had returned to Suzaku. Wang Lin silently slapped his bag of holding and the heaven-avoiding coffin floated out. It landed next to him, and Li Muwen lay quietly inside, a faint smile on her face. Li Qiqing's body trembled as he stared blankly at the coffin. At this moment, everything in front of him disappeared. The only thing that remained was his little sister inside the coffin. He hadn't seen her for hundreds of years, his only family member. Little sister. Tears flowed down Li Qiqing's face. The ruthlessness in his eyes disappeared and was replaced by a deep sense of familial love. Before Mom and Dad left, they told me to take care of you. Little sister, big brother is useless, I didn't take good care of you. Li Qiqing's face was filled with sadness as he looked at the woman inside the coffin. A heart-wrenching pain filled his body. Wang Lin didn't say anything. He just stood there silently. Time seemed to pass for an eternity. Li Qiqing sat next to the coffin, looking at his little sister. All sorts of thoughts flooded his mind. Just at this moment, a whistling sound could be heard from the distance. 3 rays of sword energy appeared. The leading sword energy was bright red, and standing on top of it was an old man. His cultivation was at the late stage of soul transformation, and his face was filled with arrogance. Behind him were 2 middle-aged men. They looked at the old man with respect in their eyes. Li Qiqing, let's see where you can run to. The old man had a cold smile on his face as he sped forward. He immediately saw the coffin next to Li Qiqing, as well as Li Muan, and then Wang Lin. This strange scene caused the old man's body to tremble. His eyes glittered as he carefully looked at the coffin. He could see dense celestial spiritual energy coming from the coffin, and greed appeared in his eyes. However, when his gaze landed on Wang Lin, he was startled. The person before him looked a bit familiar. Just as he was thinking, Wang Lin coldly looked at the old man. When this gaze entered into the eyes of the old man, it caused his heart to shake violently, and the sword light beneath his feet instantly collapsed. He instinctively took a few steps back and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood while his eyes revealed astonishment. He'd immediately recognized the person before him. Wang Lin. Wang Lin! The old man gasped and was scared out of his wits. Without a word, he turned around and tried to escape. As he retreated, he grabbed the two disciples next to him and threw them forward in an attempt to stop Wang Lin from chasing him. He shouted, "Explode!" He was a cautious person and had placed a seal on all of his disciples. Under the control of the seal, the two disciples immediately exploded into a mist of blood that shot toward Wang Lin. Using this opportunity, he clenched his teeth and quickly escaped. His mind was blank and the only thought in his mind was that he had to escape. His scalp felt numb and his heart was filled with fear. There was always a thorn in his heart. This thorn was when he was chasing a female cultivator at the border between the country of Ho Fun and the Sea of Devils. That junior saved the female cultivator and entered the Sea of Devils while he was chasing her. Originally, he didn't care about this at all, but as time passed, Tsing Nyo's name became famous in Suzaku. The more he looked at Tsing Nyo, the more his heart trembled. He recognized that Tsing Nyo was the junior that saved the female cultivator and was chased into the Sea of Devils by him. What shocked him even more was the series of events that followed. During the war between the Forsaken Immortal Clan and Rosefinch, Tsing Nyo shined brightly. Later, he found out that the position of Rosefinch's son, Zhou Wutai, was given to him by Tsing Nyo, who was also known as Wang Lin. All of this made him very cautious. It wasn't easy for him to wait for Wang Lin to leave Suzaku before he let out a sigh of relief. However, he never would have thought that he would meet Wang Lin today. He shouldn't remember me. His heart trembled and he hoped for a miracle. "It's you." There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. With his intelligence, he knew that this person had come here to kill Li Muan's brother. The feud between the two of them was most likely related to what happened back then. Killing intent filled Wang Lin's eyes. He waved his sleeves and the blood mist formed by the two self-destructing cultivators was pushed back toward Ancestor Qi Shui. Ancestor Qi Shui was terrified and was about to teleport, but it was too late. The blood mist surrounded him and miserable screams came from inside the blood mist. Wang Lin's right hand slammed forward. With a bang, new blood aura appeared within the blood mist, but it all dissipated into nothingness. From beginning to end, Li Qiqing didn't raise his head. It was as if he didn't know what was happening around him. In his eyes, there was only Li Muan. Time passed. After a long time, Li Qiqing took a deep breath and became clear-headed. He carefully looked at Li Muan inside the coffin as if he wanted to engrave his little sister in his heart. Li Qiqing withdrew his gaze and stood up. He didn't look at Wang Lin the entire time as he turned around and walked into the distance. After Ancestor Qi Shui died, the blood mark on Li Qiqing's face was also broken. Wang Lin looked at Li Qiqing's departing figure. He didn't stop him or say anything. He understood what Wang Lin was thinking. Li Qiqing was using his cold actions to show that he didn't want to have anything to do with Wang Lin. With a sigh, Wang Lin put away the heaven-avoiding coffin in his bag of holding and left. All karma has been settled. Wang Lin floated in the air as he looked at Suzaku below him. This planet was half abandoned, so there was very little spiritual energy left. Zhou Wutai, since you are Rosefinch's son, I'll use Suzaku to settle the karma with you. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as ripples appeared under his feet and he disappeared. In the Alliance star system, Wang Lin's figure appeared outside a desolate planet. He looked at the planet before him and raised his right hand. His early-stage nirvana scryer cultivation spread out without reservation. His eyes shined brightly as his right hand reached at the void and mercilessly pulled. Immediately, the planet began to tremble violently. In an instant, an ancient aura spread out from the planet, as if a pair of invisible hands had grabbed it. Planet soul extraction. Wang Lin didn't extract all of it. After taking 30%, he let go and left. Although losing 30% of the planet's soul would have an impact on the planet, it wouldn't be too drastic. Along the way, Wang Lin extracted planet souls from several planets. Even with his cultivation level, he wasn't strong enough. Unfortunately, the big-headed boy couldn't merge with the world, so he could only do this himself. One day later, Wang Lin merged with the world with the planet souls he had extracted. When he reappeared, he was back on Suzaku. The moment he appeared on Suzaku, an ancient aura came from his right hand. There were 7 balls of light in Wang Lin's right hand, and each of them gave off an ancient aura. These were the planet souls he had extracted. After taking a deep breath, Wang Lin shot out a ball of light from his left hand without hesitation. This ball of light flew toward the earth and fused with the earth. Suddenly, the entire Suzaku trembled. This trembling didn't come from the earth, but from Rosefinch's soul. At this moment, a large amount of spirit veins appeared in the depths of Suzaku. From its half-abandoned state, it was now filled with life. Wang Lin didn't stop. He picked up the second soul ball and threw it into the earth. The trembling of Rosefinch's soul became even more intense. The spirit veins spread out and condensed at a crazy speed. The mountain peaks that originally existed all began to emit large amounts of spiritual energy. All the mortals only felt warmth from their feet. They immediately felt refreshed, as if all their illnesses had been swept away. A third, a fourth, and a fifth soul ball were thrown into the earth by Wang Lin. At the same time, the cry of a phoenix that only a few cultivators could hear suddenly echoed out from within Suzaku. It was as if Rosefinch were suddenly filled with life. Spiritual energy once again appeared in the previously depleted spirit veins. In the blink of an eye, the density of the spiritual energy in Suzaku had reached a new level. Not only that, but all the cultivators could sense the spiritual energy in heaven and earth becoming more active. In fact, the spiritual power within their bodies began to circulate on its own. Feeling the surrounding spiritual energy, Wang Lin threw the sixth soul ball into the earth. In an instant, the green mountains on Suzaku became more verdant, and the water became more clear. It was as if there was a fragrance coming from it. An overflowing vitality turned into ripples that echoed on Suzaku. After the last soul ball was thrown into the earth by Wang Lin, the trembling of the entire Suzaku's soul reached its peak. Under the dense spiritual energy, even some mortals who originally had the talent to cultivate but weren't very obvious immediately had their talent become obvious. In addition, many low-level cultivators immediately broke through their bottlenecks under the impact of the spiritual energy from Suzaku. A large number of cultivators in their sects gave up on everything else and immersed themselves in meditation, crazily absorbing the spiritual energy in heaven and earth. Although Suzaku hadn't reached the level of a top-quality planet, it was no longer half a waste. The spiritual energy on it had recovered to its peak. Zhou Wutai stood on top of Mount Rosefinch as he looked at the sky. His eyes were filled with melancholy as he let out a deep breath and muttered, "Brother Wang, thank you." In the country of Suzaku, in front of a sect, an old cultivator who looked exactly the same as Huang Long from back then had a smile on his face. He shook his head and said, "It's not worth it to use 7 star souls to replenish the power of 1 star. However, for this child to do this, it means he can't forget his homeland. This is not bad." I wonder what choice this child will make in the battle against the Luo Tian. Wang Lin looked at the earth and took a step forward. His figure disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was in a valley. The valley was exactly the same as when he left. The karma has been settled, so it is time to leave. However, before I leave, I still have to make a trip to the Forsaken Immortal Clan. Unfortunately, I still haven't found a way to increase the celestial origin energy in the celestial beings. Otherwise, I could research the magic arsenal spell. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he looked into the distance. In the Alliance star system, there was a lone star system with many black buildings. These buildings all had different styles, and they looked like giant swords piercing the void. At the center of the city was a tall tower. The tower was no less than 3,000 meters tall. Black chains extended from the tower, connecting it to the surrounding buildings. The Cultivation Alliance was divided into 2 palaces, 4 palaces, and 8 realms. This was the Slaughter Realm. A shadowy figure materialized out of thin air, moving as fast as lightning toward one of the buildings. He knelt down on one knee, revealing himself to be an old man who emanated a black aura. He bowed his head toward the pagoda and said, "All Heaven's newly conferred Thunder Immortal Su Mu has been located. Soul Killer Maids, bring me Su Mu's head. Consider it a big gift from my Slaughter Realm to the Luo Tian cultivator." A cold voice came from the tower. The 3 chapters fused into one, and at this critical moment, I'm begging for monthly votes. I'm very grateful to Yi Du and Banju for their contributions to the book review area. When school started, Yi Du was busy with his studies, and Jen didn't want to distract him, so he helped Yi Du to focus on his studies. Chapter 904. Suzaku, where the Forsaken Immortal Clan used to be, sat an old man in the lotus position outside the deep pit. The old man was wearing a red robe and had white hair. There was a plant flashing between his eyebrows with 11 leaves, but there was still half a leaf at the top of the 11th leaf. If this half leaf was completely opened, the old man would immediately become a 12-leaf Forsaken Immortal Clan member. In the Forsaken Immortal Clan, a 12-leaf Forsaken Immortal Clan member was equivalent to an illusory cultivator. The old man quietly sat there, motionless, as if he was an eternal being. On this day, 4 rays of light flew over. The old man suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the sky. His eyes lit up and he was about to speak when his body trembled and he stared at one of the 4 rays of light. Wang Lin landed on the ground and looked at the deep pit and the old man staring at Ta Shan. After pondering for a bit, he slowly said, "Senior Yunxi, long time no see." The old man was Yunxi. His eyes were filled with shock as he withdrew his gaze from Ta Shan. A huge wave was set off in his heart as he looked at Wang Lin and bitterly said, "Cultivators come first, so there is no need to call me senior. Fellow cultivator Wang Lin, is this person a member of my Forsaken Immortal Clan?" Yunxi pointed at Ta Shan. Ta Shan's expression was cold and he didn't even look at Yunxi. "He is a member of the Forsaken Immortal Clan." Wang Lin let out a sigh as he stepped into the deep pit. Ta Shan followed closely behind. As for the big-headed boy, he smiled foolishly at Yunxi and followed behind. The moment he saw the big-headed boy's smile, a pressure that came from the soul came from Yunxi's body. His face immediately turned pale and the complex expression in his eyes became even stronger. Lei Ji also followed behind. He was in awe of Wang Lin, especially when he saw Wang Lin's spell that could change the spiritual energy in Suzaku. This shocked him even more. He had heard of this spell a long time ago. Only those famous cultivators in the Alliance star system could do this. Skylark bitterly smiled, then her body flickered and she entered the deep pit. Along the way, Wang Lin's speed wasn't fast as he slowly moved through the Forsaken Immortal Clan. By now, almost all of the Forsaken Immortal Clan members had left, so there was no one left. As he descended layer by layer, Wang Lin remembered that the deepest he went was the 11th layer. In the 11th layer, he met the Forsaken Immortal Clan's third ancestor and was hunted by her. In the end, he took out the scroll with the Xiong family's woman sealed inside to escape. From what the third ancestor of the Forsaken Immortal Clan had said, Wang Lin knew that this scroll had some connection to the Forsaken Immortal Clan. The lower they went, the darker the surroundings became. Perhaps because no one had lived here for hundreds of years, there was no sign of life in this place, only dense yin qi. If it was before, with Wang Lin's cultivation, he would have felt uncomfortable under this yin qi. As he went deeper, he would have been forced back by the yin qi and wouldn't be able to move forward. However, this yin qi was insignificant to Wang Lin. He didn't even need to use his origin energy. The yin qi seemed to have intelligence and didn't dare to get close to him. As he went deeper, the yin qi formed a rapidly rotating vortex before Wang Lin as if it was opening a path for him. As he walked, Wang Lin continued to ponder. The Forsaken Immortal Clan and the Chosen Immortal Clan were obviously the same clan. He was already somewhat sure about this, and after seeing Skylark's performance before the big-headed boy, he was even more certain that his guess was correct. This clan wasn't afraid of the celestial spiritual energy from celestial jades, but the celestial spiritual energy from celestials would make their souls yield. The key to all of this was celestial spiritual energy. Thinking about celestial spiritual energy, Wang Lin felt a bit distressed. The celestial spiritual energy in his body was given to him by Shimizu, so it wasn't infinite. Every time he used a celestial spell, it would consume a bit of celestial spiritual energy. If he didn't have a way to replenish it, it would all be used up. The celestial spells that Shimizu inherited, Summon the Rain and Magic Arsenal, had very high requirements for celestial spiritual energy. Without a certain amount of celestial spiritual energy, it would be impossible to study them, much less use them. This was the reason why Qing Shui wanted Wang Lin to enter the celestial pool, and it was also why he gave Wang Lin the celestial beans. However, there were too many drawbacks to entering the celestial pool, so Wang Lin didn't want to choose it. However, although he had celestial spiritual energy in his body, he had tried many methods to replenish it. He had even tried to absorb celestial spiritual energy from celestial jades, but he still couldn't form celestial spiritual energy in his body. After taking in the big-headed boy, Wang Lin also tried, but he still couldn't do it. Feeling helpless, he could only use as little celestial spiritual energy as possible. It didn't take long before Wang Lin arrived at the 11th floor for the second time. This 11th floor wasn't big, and there were many gullies dug into the ground. These gullies connected to form a strange symbol. Red liquid flowed through these gullies, and what entered Wang Lin's eyes was this blood-red symbol. The 11th floor was completely empty except for the sound of the red liquid flowing on the ground. Yunzi looked at this place and slowly said, "This is one of my Forsaken Immortal Clan's ancestral tattoos. This place has a total of 19 floors. Aside from the earliest ancestor, the next generation can only enter the 16th floor at most. No one can enter the last 3 floors." Wang Lin nodded. He spread out his divine sense and found the entrance to the 12th floor. In a flash, he charged toward the entrance. 12th floor, Shursan's floor, 14th floor, 15th floor, 16th floor. With Wang Lin's cultivation level, he arrived at the 16th floor without any obstruction. There were also blood-red tattoos on the ground in the 16th floor, but these tattoos were even more complex. Just looking at them would make one feel like they were in a trance. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. There were 2 coffins of Shursan here, and each of them had tattoos flashing on them. At the very center of this place was a black pool of water that emitted waves of cold air. Strangely, the red liquid flowing in the surrounding symbols came from the pool of water, forming a cycle. However, when the liquid entered the pool, it turned black, and when it flowed out, it emitted a red glow. This place is a bit interesting. Wang Lin stepped forward and arrived next to the pool. He took a closer look. Before, only the 12-leaf ancestor could enter the 16th floor. These coffins should all be the ancestors of my forsaken, immortal clan. Rumor has it that the 18th floor contains the source energy of my forsaken immortal clan. As for the 19th layer, there is the soul fragment of my forsaken immortal clan's first ancestor from countless years ago. Fellow cultivator Wang Lin, if you can break through to the 18th layer, please consider our past relationship and let me comprehend my ancestor's essence. He looked at Wang Lin before him. The little child in his mind gradually disappeared, and was replaced by a powerful cultivator that could make Suzaku collapse with a stomp of his foot. During this period of time, he sometimes wondered if this powerful cultivator would still exist if he hadn't helped Suzaku reach the soul formation stage. Wang Lin looked at Yangtze and nodded. Yangtze had helped him before, although he found out about Yangtze's goal. The cold aura coming from the black water was very strong, and there was a seal on it. From Wang Lin's point of view, even someone at the peak of the corporeal yang stage might not be able to break it. In addition, the seal had a requirement for bloodline. If one didn't have the bloodline of the Forsaken Immortal Clan, it would be even more difficult to enter. No wonder no one has been able to enter the 17th floor. This kind of seal is not something an ordinary cultivator can open. Wang Lin pondered as he stared at the black pool. He naturally had his reasons for coming to the Forsaken Immortal Clan. The reason was that when he was fighting the Yao family in the Luo Tian star system, the Yao family took out a yellow talisman. That talisman contained a mysterious power that sealed all of his power. That scene was still fresh in Wang Lin's mind. He also had a talisman on him. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin calmly said, "Big-headed boy, use your full power and use your most powerful celestial spell on the pool." The big-headed boy didn't waste any time. He activated the celestial origin energy in his body, and a powerful celestial spiritual energy erupted from his body. It turned into a celestial spiritual energy storm that attracted the might of the heavens. Yangtze was the first to be unable to withstand it. He subconsciously retreated and his face became pale. It was as if there was a will in his soul that was forcing him to yield. If he didn't yield, it would tear him apart. Under this will, Yangtze let out a roar and the veins on his face swelled up as he desperately struggled. Fortunately, the big-headed boy wasn't targeting Yangtze, so he had a chance to struggle. The big-headed boy activated all of his celestial origin energy and pointed to his ear. His head immediately changed and doubled in size. Green and red veins popped out of his eyebrows, forming a powerful force that charged at the pool. However, with a loud bang, the pool immediately fluctuated and slowly rotated. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He could see at a glance that the seal on the pool was showing signs of breaking under the attack of the big-headed boy. However, the signs weren't obvious. Just as the seal was about to dissipate, Wang Lin's right hand formed a sword and his eyes were filled with thunder intent. The power of the world's thunder seemed to gather from all directions and surrounded Wang Lin's fingertip. As he stepped forward, he pointed at the pool. With this point, endless thunder came out and rushed into the pool like a thunder dragon through Wang Lin's fingers. There was a loud bang and a large amount of cracks appeared on the ground of the 16th floor. As the cold aura spread out, huge waves were set off in the pool. The entire pool floated up violently and turned into a black rune. This rune was too complex, and it was so dense that it was impossible to see the pattern. However, Wang Lin didn't need to see the pattern. He wasn't trying to gain the approval of the seal, he was trying to break it by force. Chapter 905. Popping sounds came from the rune as the lightning moved around it. Every time two bolts of lightning collided, the rune would tremble. As it trembled, the rune's veins began to dissipate and the seals began to collapse layer by layer. Wang Lin's eyes became cold and he raised his right hand. The Wither Dao pair appeared and the beast bone appeared. There was a flash of ghostly light and killing intent filled the area. The constantly collapsing rune suddenly trembled and a gray light came from it. It quickly began to petrify. Just at this moment, Ta Shan took a step forward and threw a punch with his right fist. With a loud bang, the 16th level began to tremble, and the rune instantly collapsed. The lightning on it moved even faster, and with a series of popping sounds, it completely turned into countless specks of black crystal light that dissipated into the surroundings. In that instant, a teleportation portal appeared on the surface of the pool. It flickered with light and emanated a strange light. The moment the tunnel to the 17th layer opened, in a sect square on planet Suzaku, the old cultivator that looked like Huang Long looked into the distance. He originally had his hands behind his back and was talking to a few low-level disciples. After a long while, he retracted his gaze and thought to himself, "Forget it. There's nothing that can't be seen on the 17th floor. This little fellow's cultivation has reached a level where he can understand some secrets. However, with his cultivation, the 17th floor is his limit. He won't be able to enter the 18th floor." In the 16th floor of the Forsaken Immortal Clan, Ta Shan stepped into the transfer array and disappeared. Wang Lin waited for a bit. After confirming there was no danger, he stepped in. Shortly after, the big-headed boy, Lei Ji, and Yunque all charged out and disappeared with the transfer array. The 17th floor of the Forsaken Immortal Clan was completely dark without any light and was filled with a dense death aura. At this moment, the light from the transfer array suddenly appeared at the center of the 17th floor. With the help of the light, the surroundings became extremely clear. This was an area about 1,000 feet wide with chains intersecting with each other. At each intersection there was a corpse hanging. These corpses gave off celestial spiritual energy. These corpses belonged to immortals. Only, this immortal chi did not have the slightest bit of spirituality. It was completely lifeless, as if these corpses had been hanging there for countless years. In the blink of an eye, the light from the formation dissipated, and several people appeared within the formation. Ta Shan was the first person to enter this place. The moment he entered, his eyes immediately lit up and he constantly looked around. Even with his indifference, his pupils shrank the moment he looked around. The entire area was pitch black. However, the darkness was incapable of obstructing divine sense. As soon as Wang Lin appeared, he scanned the area with his divine sense. Immediately, he gasped and his face darkened. He wasn't the only one. After the big-headed boy used his divine sense to check his surroundings, his face turned pale. He had entered the celestial pool and turned his domain into celestial origin energy. It could be said that he had already become a celestial. Therefore, when he saw the 17th level, he was far more shocked than anyone else. What terrified him even more was that the celestial origin energy in his body, which had always been successful, began to tremble. It was as if it was being suppressed by a mysterious force. Under this suppression, the big-headed boy seemed to be able to hear mournful screams. His face became pale, his body trembled, and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. Fortunately, Wang Lin noticed the change in the big-headed boy. After the big-headed boy coughed out blood, Wang Lin's right hand hit his back and a large amount of origin energy entered his body. Only then did the big-headed boy regain consciousness. He looked around with a gaze filled with awe. On the other hand, Yunque was completely different from the big-headed man. After he arrived, he immediately felt the aura of the Forsaken Immortal Clan. The black tattoos around his body began to move on their own and rapidly shrank. They actually began to degrade. The runes flowed around her body like water, and it was as if there was an invisible force squeezing them, causing the runes around Skylark's body to quickly gather towards her chest. What shocked Yunque even more was that the awe he felt toward the big-headed boy had changed. It was as if there was a force suppressing that awe. Wang Lin was also affected. The moment he entered, Wang Lin noticed that the celestial beings that Shimizu had given him seemed to sink into water and began to slow down. The surroundings were completely silent and dark, but for Wang Lin's group of 4, they could clearly see everything. This 17th level wasn't very big. Countless chains extended down from the walls and locked the skeletons in place. These skeletons were all like corpses. Most of them had their pelvic bones pierced by chains, but some had their shoulders pierced and were hanging in the air. The number of these skeletons was no less than 100. Each skeleton had traces of being whipped before they died. It was obvious that these people had suffered unimaginable torture before dying miserably. There were also flashing runes on their bodies. Every time they flashed, the celestial spiritual energy coming from their bodies would become stronger. As for the reason their bodies were emitting celestial spiritual energy, it was because their origin souls had been imprisoned in their bodies by a powerful spell. However, their bodies were already dead, and the endless death aura was constantly eroding their origin souls. Although their origin souls maintained their consciousness, they couldn't leave their bodies. They could only watch as their bodies withered and the death aura filled the air. In the end, they were destroyed. This kind of torture revealed a strong hatred for Celestials. This endless hatred gave Wang Lin a huge impact. Yang Zi stared blankly at everything around him and couldn't speak for a long time. These are Celestials. When they were alive, their cultivation levels were all a bit higher than mine. The big-headed boy felt this the most. He felt inexplicably nervous here. Just at this moment, the sound of metal chains colliding rang out. In front of them, a mummy suddenly moved. The runes on its body quickly flickered, and in an instant, the runes directly penetrated the mummy's body and fused with it. At this moment, the corpse suddenly opened its eyes. There was no spirit in its eyes, only an empty void. However, at this moment, there was an unimaginable hatred and killing intent that suddenly erupted from the void. Celestial! Die! A roar echoed and the chains on the mummy's body quickly became transparent. Without the chains binding it, the mummy charged out with a strange celestial force. It formed a storm around its body and charged at the big-headed boy. The big-headed boy's face turned pale, and he subconsciously retreated a few steps. His eyes revealed a fierce gaze as he let out a roar. His hands formed a seal, and the celestial origin energy in his body surged. He was about to use a celestial spell. However, just at this moment, a strange scene appeared. The moment the big-headed boy activated his celestial origin energy, it quickly dissipated from his body. The speed at which it dissipated was far faster than the big-headed boy could have imagined. He hadn't even used a celestial spell when a large amount of celestial origin energy disappeared from his body. This scene almost caused him to lose his wits. Seeing the mummy close in, there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He took a step and his right hand pressed down. Origin energy surged out from his body, and with a bang, the mummy was knocked back several dozen feet. Ta Shan charged out like a bolt of lightning and clenched his right hand into a fist. With one punch, runes appeared on his fist. When the mummy saw the runes, respect immediately appeared on its face, and it quickly retreated, as if it did not dare to fight against Ta Shan. Yang Zi stared at the scene before him. At this moment, it was like a flash of lightning in his mind. He immediately remembered a rumor he had heard a long time ago. This is my forsaken immortal clan's punishment hall. Rumor has it that when the oldest ancestor of my forsaken immortal clan came to Suzaku, he created a separate floor outside of the last 2 floors and named it the punishment hall. If anyone not from my forsaken immortal clan entered, they would immediately be killed by the guards. I didn't think this. This was actually true. As Yang Zi's voice echoed, the sound of the chains echoed once more. All of the corpses on the 17th floor opened their eyes at this moment. Bursts of ferocious gazes came from their eyes, and as they let out roars, the chains on the corpses disappeared, allowing them to regain their freedom. They let out roars and charged toward Wang Lin, the big-headed boy, and Lei Ji. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. He let out a cold snort, raised his right hand, formed a seal, and shouted, "Call the wind." After he spoke, a gust of black wind appeared around Wang Lin's right hand. It quickly filled the entire 17th floor, forming a monstrous, black wind that swept in all directions. As the black wind howled, 2 black dragons appeared. They let out angry roars and large amounts of cold wind swept out with Wang Lin as the center. The charging corpses immediately stopped and quickly retreated. Although they were powerful when they were alive, now that they were dead, they were being controlled by a mysterious force and were far weaker than before. However, there were too many corpses, so they couldn't be underestimated. As the black wind howled, runes immediately appeared on the bodies of the corpses. These runes lit up at the same time, and in an instant they formed a seal. This seal was invisible, but as the countless runes flashed, it immediately pressed down. This wasn't the first time Wang Lin had encountered this kind of seal. When he fought against the Yao family, it had given him a lot of trouble. Now that he noticed it, Wang Lin's expression changed, and he immediately stepped forward. Ripples echoed under his feet and he disappeared without a trace. The black wind howled and the 2 black dragons roared. They swept through the surroundings and swept away the countless corpses. These corpses seemed to be trapped by the wind and were bound by it. There were even a few corpses whose bodies directly exploded with a bang. Wang Lin's figure appeared beside one of the corpses. With a merciless gaze, 2 fingers on his right hand contained the will of heaven and earth. As he pointed, endless lightning appeared from the void and gathered on his fingers. In an instant, Wang Lin's fingers landed on the head of a corpse before him. The corpse trembled violently, and a moment of clarity appeared in the hollow eyes. With a hint of relief, his body collapsed with a bang and dissipated into the surroundings. However, the moment he dissipated, a gust of celestial origin energy spread out from his body and entered Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that the celestial origin energy didn't cause him any harm. Instead, it fused with immortal Lord Shimizu's senzu beans in his body. This discovery made Wang Lin ecstatic. Thank you, everyone, for your votes. At the last moment, you've added nearly 200 votes in 3 hours. Thank you, everyone. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.